Good evening, everyone. Welcome to FPL BlackBox ahead of Gameweek 6. And Mark, it is Wildcard time.
Yeah, reluctantly, we're both on a wildcard. I mean, every content creator's on a wildcard, aren't they? I think it's everywhere. And depressingly, all the teams look rather similar.
Can't wait to see your midfield. I bet it's the same as everyone else's.
It was until about 20 minutes ago.
Doing it for the clicks. I like it. Good stuff.
A spoiler, I have got 4 wildcard teams to show now.
Okay.
So I haven't yet decided. So,
but it'll be a long one then.
I've got closer in the last 15, 20 minutes, I think.
I've got 2 drafts. I've got a Raya draft and a Flecken draft.
Oh, right. You only gave me one, though. You only put one in the...
There is 2 in there, but it's only a couple of changes. It's not really worth showing 2. So.
Okay. All right. But, yes. How are you then? You all right?
I'm good. Yeah. Did you enjoy the Black Box Derby at the weekend? You went to the Amex?
I did enjoy it. I mean, enjoy is the wrong word, I guess. It wasn't. It was a strange game, but I'm very happy with the point. I do understand now why you've conceded goals, and I wouldn't be invested in a buying defender or goalkeeper because I think many teams are going to exploit that. And yeah, we could have won it in the end as well. It was. Yeah. I'm pleased with our progress because it was what I thought it would be, which was a close encounter, and it certainly wouldn't have been the case a couple of seasons back. It
was a strange game, wasn't it? It was a ding-dong battle, as they say, and I think either team could have won it in the end. And yeah, at the end, I think a point was probably a fair result. But oh my god, it was stressful watching it at an Irish bar in Madrid. I kicked a stool over at one point. I was sat next to a Forest fan. What are the odds of that?
Oh, were you? Oh, we're everywhere. Oh, it's all over the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and so all the people, there was like 2 other people in the whole bar. Mine happened to be a Forest fan, so I watched it with him. It was fine. But yeah, both got frustrated at different points.
Yeah, and Gibbs White sent off, which helps us in sleeper because General's got Gibbs White, and he's off pens as well. So that's Gibbs White over, isn't it, as an asset? Which is a bit sad because I liked him, but while Wood's in the team.
Were you surprised to see Chris Wood?
Very surprised. Very surprised. Now, obviously, Gibbs White has lost set pieces to Alanga and to Anderson and Danilo when he's fit, but now he's lost pens as well. Very shocked to see that. I don't know what was behind that. To my knowledge, he hasn't missed one, unless he's missed one in the penalty shootout and I've missed it. But yeah, I was never assured when Gibbs White stepped up. I was more assured than when Brennan used to step up, but. Wood is a penalty taker. He was for Burnley. I think he is for New Zealand as well. So yeah, it's all fair. But it does mean, are we going to be talking about Wood without making any jokes tonight?
Well, after you poo-pooed Wood a few weeks ago, I think you owe Chris Wood an apology.
I probably do. And he has appeared in some of my wildcards as well. Yeah.
Has he? Yeah, I thought he might.
Yeah,
I thought he might. That's the ultimate reversal round. I like it.
Yeah, we've got to promise not to make any Wood jokes. Really, please do not go. Do not plunge those depths, please.
Nah, as if we're a bit too stiff for that.
Yeah, we are. Very good. Right, shall we look at our game weeks? We haven't got any sponsors this week. We're going to talk about sponsor later on, aren't we? But
yeah.
Let's look at our game weeks first of all. Talk us through it then. As 67 points. You happy with that?
Yeah, Henderson came through finally with a bit of a jammy 9-pointer. Don't really know how they managed to keep Man U out. Some of the chances they had, but yeah, after going Henderson over Raya, it was a welcome near double-digit return for him. Porro's been disappointing since his goal game week 1. Robinson, I wasn't too happy about playing. He conceded, and Trent with the assist and looked good in that game too.
Finally,
finally
a big return for Trent.
Yeah, double digits, 11 points. Happy to hold him. Salah I bought in a couple of weeks ago. He was setting the record for the most points ever, and then just has got 1 assist, 2 assists in the last 2 games. Or did he score in the last game? I can't remember. It's not a lot anyway compared to what he has been doing. Rodgers, 10 points, legend. So happy with him coming good finally. Thought he was excellent. We'll talk a bit more about Villa in a bit. Gordon's been disappointing. Smith Rowe came off my bench. Where's the toast?
What is it with you and Smith Rowe? Because I remember when you had him when he was at Arsenal. Do you remember you had that period where he was in your team and he kept coming off the bench and scoring. And I think he scored 3 goals in 4 games off the bench, and you had him in your team.
Yeah, it was the reverse of this. He was coming off the Arsenal bench and scoring, and I had him.
Now he's coming off your bench, and it's like you and Foden. You've got some kind of affinity with him, some kind of arrangement that you've done. Some kind of deal with the devil,
dead to me now. I missed his last hat trick, didn't I? But
with Smith Rowe, your level of jam is, it's of Robinson's quality. It's crazy.
2 weeks in a row. João Pedro last week and Jota this week. I was absolutely raging when Jota was on the bench, because what was I talking about on BlackBox last week? Jota to Mbeumo, and Jota on the bench. Mbeumo scores after 20 seconds. I thought it was going to be an absolute disaster, but luckily he stayed off the pitch. Harlan with the 9, João Pedro with the 1, and Mateta disappointing after his 2 goals last week off at half time. Yeah, so there was enough here to make me wildcard. Gordon's been disappointing. I haven't got any Arsenal. João Pedro's injured. Jota benched. Mateta off at half time. Don't want Robinson. Porro being disappointing. Take Henderson's points. You know what I mean? You know when it feels right.
Barco's not on corners for Brighton, is he, at the moment? So, you got that.
He's due. He's going to come good at some point.
So what was the tipping point? Were you always playing the wild card? Because I wasn't. So what was the tipping point for you?
No, I wanted to give it another week. Really, the tipping point was, like I said, just too many question marks around too many players, and that led to too many price drops. I mean, Gordon went down. I think Jota might have gone down as well. And then all the price rises as well. I mean, all the popular picks: Diaz, Mbeumo, Saka, all rising. Jackson's gone up. Might even get a 0.2. I might even catch a 0.1 off him. I think it's like 0.7 team value, or maybe even 0.8 from when I wildcarded on Saturday. So yeah, it was too good to ignore.
It's strange, isn't it? Because we always think about the international breaks as the period where we can wildcard and make a bit of cash off the market. But actually, the price rises and drops have been more aggressive this week than they were over the break. I think it seems that way. On Monday there was about 20 price drops. It was absolutely, because I was looking at the various tools out there, and they were predicting loads of drops and about 5 or 6 rises. And I looked and thought, no, there's no way we could have that many drops. And I woke up on Monday morning. I don't know about you, but my regular morning routine includes turning my alarm off after about 4 snoozes, finally getting out of bed, getting my phone, going to Scout, going to Hot Topics and looking at the price changes. I do that every
you get out of bed to do that. I roll over, tap the alarm and straight on to see.
Me out of bed. I'm also, we said no wood jokes, but yes, almost out of bed. I look at the price changes first thing in the morning. So and then I saw the 20. I was like, oh my god, there were 20 or change. It was very volatile, the market.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we had them on Saturday. We had like all the ones that we thought, and then there's been a lot of players skirting around the plus 100 on FPL statistics and not going up over the last few days. And obviously that's because wildcards are being played. But like you say, the drops seem brutal. Basically, every time a player is predicted to drop, they go down. Whereas in the rises, it doesn't seem to be as accurate. Maybe. So I don't really know what's going on there. I mean, I still laugh at Solanke dropping like millions of owners and being protected.
Stayed as he was.
Yeah.
Green arrow for you, up to 579. Should we look at my game week? I did come out 68 points, not too bad. I talked through it. Ryan goal, just the 4 let me down this time, but did get the saves. I mean, he was still outstanding, wasn't he, at City? I thought, I mean, second half he was brilliant again. He's just gone up a level as a goalkeeper. Right? It's not the Arsenal defence that's behind this, although they are amazing. But we talk about Raya every week, and again, even though he didn't get the clean sheet, he had an outstanding game. So he came in before. Conte with the goal, 9 points, very handy indeed.
I was a bit miffed to that. I'm not going to.
Well, he moved to right back, didn't he? Because Diego Carlos came in at centre back, so he moved to right back, and that's what he was doing on the far post. There was no way he'd have been there had he been playing centre back.
What a ball from Tielemans as well.
Yeah, quality. Conte 9, Trent 11 came in good. Porro with the 2, Saka just the 4. Did get an assist, and he's returned in every game now. Eze very disappointing, missed 2 big chances. I mean, I got him in for Smith Rowe, and I've missed 2 goals, I think, or a goal and assist from Smith Rowe since I did that. Salah, the 12 points. Son came in with 10, which is handy. Rodgers obviously delivered at last with 10. And then disappointed from Isaac and disappointed from João Pedro. And of course, João Pedro is now injured as well. On my bench, I have Wissa injured too. What was the thing that tipped me over for the wild card? It was probably Diaz and the fact he was going up. And just the fact that, I mean, Wissa was very unfortunate, I think, because if Wissa was fit, I wouldn't be wildcarding, I don't think. I think that would be enough to make me hold this team. Obviously, there's the Haaland thing. And I was
surprised when you said you done
I
it.
did wildcard too. Oh, that I did it. Yeah, did it. I mean, I can't really recall what drove me. I think it was the predicted price rises Sunday night. I looked at that and thought, there's players there that I will want that are going up. And if the price drops are correct, then I'm going to lose value. Rissa was going down, among others. Isaac was going down. And I really don't like watching value leak from my team. The plan was I was going to wildcard after 6, going into 7. But I just thought, I want to lock the value in, and can I go one more week without Haaland? It's feeling less likely that I can. Although I have got wildcards with and without him tonight that I'm going to show. So it was that. But I do think if Wissa had stayed fit, and I was very unfortunate moving for him early, my team would look really good for game week 6 because he would have come in, obviously. And therefore I could have benched João Pedro, even though he's now an injury day, it would have been okay. But in hindsight, when I look at it, Raya's got an injury out now. João Pedro is out, and I've got Wissa. So with those 3 things in mind, wildcarding is the right decision. So I'm kind of glad I went early because it meant I got all the value. Because sitting here now with Raya, João Pedro, and Wissa all injured, I definitely would have wanted to wildcard. So I don't regret it at all. It's just lucky, perhaps, that other injuries have fallen in, and I did it early enough to get all the rises and miss all the drops. So I don't.
Surely you're not going to wildcard without Haaland, because fair enough, if you're wildcarding this team to a Haaland draft, fair enough. But if you're not wildcarding this team to a Haaland draft, surely it's pretty close to what you'd go for without him. It looks
maybe some wildcards.
Son to Diaz, Isak to Havertz or something, and you're looking like a lot of wildcards that I'm seeing out there already.
Well, where's Haaland coming in? Salah to Semenyo, Haaland in for Wissa. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to speculate that's enough money, but yeah. No. Well, yeah. I mean, I very likely will move to Haaland in my wild card. There is the option not to, but I've probably got to decide tonight if I do that or not, based on the rises that they're predicting. But yeah, I do think that if I wildcard without it, what I'd have to do is book in transfers to move to Haaland for game week 7, because I think when we look at the ticker. Man City from game week 7, it's Fulham, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth. I don't think you can not have Haaland for that run. I just don't see how you can go without him.
No,
all I can do is put it off for 1 week, I think.
I think people who were just banking on a Haaland blank against Arsenal weren't even rewarded with that, and it hurt. It hurt me as an owner to see him score, because his ownership, even against Arsenal, against the toughest defence in the league, was still 140%. So. Yeah, it is that problem of, you've talked about it before. We thought at 15 million it might give us some opportunities, and fair play to people like you who went without him. But I just don't see how you can go without him. That run is ridiculous. Like, how many goals could he score in that? 6 games?
Yeah, I don't think, hand on heart, I can say going into Fulham at home, Wolves away, Southampton at home, which are 3 defences that I would expect City to score more than 2 goals in all 3 of those games. So yeah, minimum number of goals I think City will get over those 3 is 6 goals. They could get anywhere up to 12, 13 goals. I mean, they could. Wolves.
He could be at 20 goals by game week 13.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy the levels he's reaching. And, you look at review and it still says you can go without him. You can wildcard game week 6, and the algorithm is suggesting the optimum is to go without him. So even the best algorithm in the land, which review is, no doubt, cannot get to grips with how he's outperforming his EV. It can't do enough in its algorithm to boost him enough to push him into as a must-have. You've got to lock him in to get him.
Well, we were chatting to Luke, weren't we? And he was saying that a lot of people who use it are locking him in, because even they've realised, let's not mess around with this. Let's make sure we've got Haaland and go from there. Fair play to Ben Crellin though for going without him. That's really going with the like review logic, right?
It's basically the algo is suggesting you can. And I checked again tonight. I mean, it changes day to day, but I checked tonight before I came on, and again, the review is saying you can go without him. So it's just crazy what he's doing. The EV that he's predicted is, he's outperforming that considerably. But I just don't think even I'm brave enough to do that. I could do it this week. I could do it without it game week 6, but then I'd be booking in transfers because I can't see how I can go into 7 without him at home to Fulham. Now, he will regress, of course. That's certain, because he can't keep the conversion rate up, and we'll look at data later. But I think even with regression, he's going to probably beat his debut season tally this season, the way he's going, unless there's a big dip in City's form. Let's look at great and the good, because you mentioned Ben Crellin, who's just behind me with a wild card. He did play the wild card, but didn't turn out well. He went down 688,000, and there were red arrows throughout the great and the good. It was about an even split. We came out with greens. You're up to third, doing rather well, aren't you? It's I know my mind's blown as well. Chasing Praz and Harry. Did you see Harry played his wild card tonight? Very late. Went to it.
That is late. Yeah, interesting. I guess that's the Raya and the Pedro news, right? Pedro.
Yeah, I think so. And he's ranked 146, so he's playing it from a position of strength. He's already got Haaland, of course, as well. But it just must be most were going to play it, after 6 or next international break, basically, weren't they? So it's understandable that you move early after the João Pedro injury, if you've got Raya as well. We'll talk about Raya in a bit. But it's interesting that it was split in terms of red and greens this week. And I've got some catching up to do. But I'm only 22 points behind you. That's fine. It hurts, but it's fine. Fine.
It's not actually that many, is it?
No, I mean, if you look at the gap here as well, it's I'm how many 9 points behind general, but the difference in rank is 600,000. So it's we see this, don't we, early season, that 10 points can get you like almost a million places in the rank. So
it's just that Haaland hat trick when you didn't have him. It's basically that.
Yeah, but it's not too late to come back from that. And so I think, there's no we will say we wildcarded because of Haaland. I probably did, but like I said, given the injuries that have surfaced this week, it was the right call. So I'm a bit fortunate in that respect. Right, let's look at some data, shall we? Team defence. Forest up in third, despite the conceding 2 goals to Brighton. The City defence on top, only 6.80 chances conceded per 90, which is we've seen them achieve that kind of level in previous seasons. I think what's interesting though is look at Arsenal, 18 chances per 90 so far, and obviously a lot of chances came City's way once Arsenal went down to 10 men, so it is skewed. But we already saw that Arsenal were mid-table here previously anyway, and that obviously that is testament to Raya, who we're going to see later, has made lots of saves. But anything else leap out to you here?
No, I mean, it's the classic between City and Arsenal, isn't it? City is at the top, but aren't a defence you trust particularly, because I mean, even against Watford in the Cup the other night, they managed to concede. They could have conceded 2 in that game as well. Had a goal ruled out, whereas Arsenal find a way to keep clean sheets. So it's almost grass v stats and analytics again in terms of the numbers. But yeah, there's a lot of double Arsenal defence. I've seen some people toying with triple Arsenal defence as well. Saliba, Gabriel, and Raya. You certainly wouldn't be doing that for Man City, despite the numbers. And I guess Lewis is the one that we're going to be mentioning in a bit, because I can't decide what to do about him. I can't decide whether to go for it or not. And you're his biggest fanboy, so I'm sure you're going to talk me into him today.
He was man of the match again the other night. He was like, every time he plays, he's man of the match. I don't think he's had a bad game all season. And I know he was benched against Arsenal. And I had a long discussion with Luke about what did he think about that. And I was always going to bench Lewis anyway. And Luke quite rightly pointed out that, you know, against the teams where they're going to go man for man and it's all about duels, Walker will play. But I think in most games where they come up against a low block for sure, Lewis will play. Now, Rodri's injury is interesting. It's. I don't think that has any real bearing on Lewis. I think he would get in the team anyway. But I guess with Rodri out, maybe that does enhance Lewis a bit further in terms of his starting role. But not only is Lewis, I think, likely to start, he's starting in advanced positions. You know, he got an assist in midweek okay, it was in a, you know, you're not going to get FPL points for it, but just the fact that he was there playing the 1-2 for Nunez's goal just showed again his potential, that even if City do concede, he's got a chance to get attacking returns. And yeah, I just don't think, if you're wildcarding and you're not getting Lewis, I think it's a strange move myself. But yeah.
Well, he is in my draft at the moment. I don't feel anywhere near as positive about him as you do. I feel like he's someone who I want to take the risk in case he ends up being an unbelievable asset for 4-7, and I'd rather be wrong and move him out in a few weeks if I'm wrong. Whereas having to get him in a few weeks would hurt more because I'll probably miss a load of points from him and have to get him at a bigger price and all of that. So I'm willing to kind of take the plunge on him a bit, but I do worry a bit about, does he definitely play? Like Walker's obviously there, so does he go into midfield? They've got Gundogan, Kovacic, Foden's going to be coming into that midfield as well. Obviously, he played at left back, but that's not going to happen very often with Guardiola and Ake, although is Ake injured? I can't never remember if he's fit or very rarely fit, so he's probably injured again. But it feels like he's got lots of ways to get into the team, but they're all a bit shoehorned in. I'd much rather if he was just nailing down a place that he called his own.
I know what you're saying, but I'll go back to what I said. That if you take, I mean, Haaland, you can say he's been their best player this season, but other than Haaland, every game I've seen him in, Lewis has impressed. And I didn't watch the game midweek, but I just went on Twitter and went Rico Lewis, and straight away it came out, oh yeah, the man of the match for this week, for this game was Rico Lewis. It's like, just seems that he just impresses every time. And I don't think he's had a bad game. And I understand why he was benched against Arsenal. And I think he will start the games where they're playing teams they're most likely to get a clean sheet as well. Newcastle could be tricky.
So why do you think he was benched against Arsenal? Because of the physical presence of
because they're going man for man. Yeah, because they knew Arsenal would go man for man, and they need a bit more physical presence. And Walker's pace in 1-for-1 duels was what they required. As it was, Walker got caught out of position by Martinelli, and they scored from it. But it was Walker versus Martinelli that they wanted to put him in there for. Otherwise, I mean, certainly Fulham at home. We look at the fixtures. If you look at game week 7, they got Fulham at home. Rico Lewis starts. I'd be incredibly surprised if Lewis doesn't start, unless they pay Walker to counter Adama. But is Adama the other side? I think Adama's the other side.
Adama's on the right. So.
Yeah, so it'd be Vardio out there. So, but I mean, the thing is as well, Lewis is good 1-on-1 anyway. He's a decent defender 1-on-1. It's just Walker's got that extra yard, I guess. But yeah, I don't think there's any debate on Lewis myself, but I was there early, so I'm biased perhaps.
I think the fact we can get him at 4-7. The fact Gavardo is probably realistically the next one you'd go up to at 6 million, maybe dropping to 5-9, but it's still a big difference between them. And the fact that we can cover it with some decent 4 millions now in, Greaves, in Face, in Vanderberg. I'm not saying these are, 6 or 10 pointers every week, but if worse comes to worse and we need to bring one in for 1 week, then you can, because we know they're playing. Last year I don't think we had any 4 millions, did we? Or any decent ones at all. Whereas we've got that option this year, which helps. And a lot of us have got 2 transfers going into the wildcard as well. And like I said, if I give him 2 weeks, we'll probably get the team news against Newcastle. Don't know if he's going to start in that. Give him that Fulham at home game. If he misses out on both of those, just take him out. There's not really any harm done in doing that. And like I said, I'd rather be on the winning side.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the only thing that jarred a bit, he played 90 minutes midweek, which made me wonder whether he will get the Newcastle game. But I think he's too good now. I think Pep needs him. And I don't know what they're going to get in Newcastle. I don't know whether Newcastle are going to defend and counter. And if they defend and counter, Lewis will play. If it's more of an end-to-end 1v1 situation and Newcastle really go for it, then perhaps Walker's most likely to play. But I think Pep will go there expecting Newcastle to sit back. And if that's the case, he'll play Lewis, I think. And he certainly will at home to Fulham. I don't doubt it. But Rodri, I mean, clean sheets could, Rodri's absence will impact City, no doubt. And they'll miss his goals as well. I think he got 7 goals last season.
Yeah.
We were surprised to see how prolific he was, particularly against the weaker teams who low block. I think he scored 6 double-figure returns at home last season. We looked at more than Haaland.
Yeah, I remember that. I know.
So he's a key performer for them. So that will obviously give Arsenal a bit of hope that Rodri's loss will be a big blow to them. And what did you make of the game? It was a strange one, wasn't it? It was.
I can't remember too many. Did you see the stat about, was it Havertz and there was another player? They're the only 2 outfield players to not make a single pass.
Yeah,
in the second half. Timber and Havertz. I've never seen anything. The thing is, I mean, I think it's a lot of harsh criticism directed at Arteta for the tactics.
Why?
I think it was. I think it was genuinely. It wasn't. It was a weird game to kind of watch because afterwards I was asked sort of, like you said, what did you make of it? And I kind of thought, well, I didn't really enjoy it that much, but I appreciated what was going on in it because it was one hell of a fight to keep that not the clean sheet, to keep the lead. And I really wanted them to do it. I really wanted them to see it out. And I was gutted when Stones popped up in the last minute to do it. And I mean, it's not the kind of football I'd like to see every week. And I wouldn't want to see my team playing that every week. But at the Etihad, in a key game, potentially for the title this early on, when you're a man down, fair enough, go at it. It was.
I don't know what people expected from Arsenal. They're going to waste time at every opportunity. They're going to try and manage it out. They're going to low block. I mean, like everything that they did is that if someone had said to me, "How do you think a team down to 10 men, 2-1 up, with 45 minutes to go, are going to play against Man City?" I would say, well, wherever that team is, what they're going to do is they're going to time waste and they're going to low block. That's what they're going to do. So that's exactly what they did. So what did we expect? It was crazy. It's bizarre.
Remember Spurs against Chelsea playing with 9 men, playing on the halfway line? What happened there? They got absolutely murdered.
Yeah, that was Ange, was it? I think
that was Ange. Of course it was. Yeah, last season.
I mean, like Arteta, he's not going to. And he nearly got it. He nearly got the 3 points.
The thing that impressed me about it so much was that I've seen teams obviously play that low block, play sit in defence, but you always sense the goal is coming at some point. That surely they're going to get too tired, not going to do it. But it was one of the greatest defensive performances I've ever seen from a team. For 45 minutes, the way they set up, they did not give them a chance to score, except for right at the end. Yeah, I was gutted.
Yeah, and City did. I thought they'd run out of ideas. I just thought, it's not happening, is it? It didn't look like it was happening, and obviously that was a frustration at the end, right? It was a bit of a mess at the end, wasn't it? But yes, very interesting game indeed. Let's look at some attacking data.
Just before we do, could I just mention one team on there because I think we have to talk about Brentford in 20th, given the defence. We're looking at Flecken, we're looking at Van der Berg. There's people paying a bit more for Collins and all that. They are bottom. Their expected goal conceded per 90 is 2.22, which is lower than teams like Everton, Southampton, and West Ham, who look absolutely awful in pretty much every game I've seen them play this season. I know the fixtures have been tough, but
they've been very tough.
They've got to improve though, because against Spurs, I mean, some of the defending was comical, absolutely comical at times. I look at Southampton, and the way they give the ball away at the back is bad enough, but Brentford do it as well, and they're going to have to. The fixtures are there for them, but they're going to have to improve because they're making too many mistakes. Doesn't matter how bad or good the opposition is, you can't be giving the ball away at the back like they've been doing. So they need to sort it out.
They will, and I think Spurs, Man City, Liverpool all away. Well, I mean, the data doesn't surprise me, so I don't think we should be put off by that. I mean, having said that, if we do end up with Flecken in our teams, which will be the case if Raya is out, I'm sure. We'll be getting Flecken on the basis that we won't be getting many clean sheets. I'm not banking, even with the fixture run that they got, which, we might as well look at it, is absolutely outstanding. They're second in this long ticker, which goes up to game week 17. West Ham, Wolves, United, Ipswich in the next 4. I can see them conceding goals in all those games. They could. Even if I get Flecken, I wouldn't think I'm going to get more than 1 clean sheet out of that 4. It's just not, the defence, we know, if we saw last season, there are very few reliable defences out there, and Brentford certainly aren't one of them.
So, no, there's 2, isn't there? There's Liverpool and Arsenal this season, how it started. That could change going forward, but there's no one else that I trust. So might as well get the goalkeeper who makes loads of saves with the best fixtures. I'm not saying that, but it is a bit concerning. I mean, look at Wolves. Wolves have played those teams that you just mentioned. Well, they're 11th on the ticker. Ipswich have had the worst fixtures of all, but they're still ahead of Brentford. I don't know. I was concerned with how they defended against.
Yeah, in terms of quality of chance they've conceded, but Wolves have not kept a clean sheet now for 18 games, successive permanent games, and they've lost Mosquera now, who would look like a decent defender. So they're really short at the back. I think they're going to have to play Bueno at centre back, who hasn't been a Uruguayan, who hasn't been first choice, and I don't know what else they can do. I mean, unless they play Semedo or Doherty as a centre back, they're in real trouble. But it's okay because they're only playing the team second in the attacking data, Liverpool at home this week, and it's okay because we're all selling Salah, so that's fine. So this is the attacking data. City top of this as well, 2.13 XG non-penalty per 90. Liverpool second, 2.02. We're going to talk a lot about Diaz tonight, and he's the poster boy for the show as well, because there aren't many wildcards that aren't bringing him in. I don't want to go into detail now because we've got lots of stats on him, but just want to ask you about selling Salah, because a lot of managers will be. Certainly I will be if I move to Haaland. Do you think we're going to get absolutely spanked straight away at Wolves?
Yeah.
Thanks for
that. Almost certainly. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to potentially wait a week. I knew I was going to wildcard in either 6 or 7. And I knew that when I wildcarded, it wouldn't include Salah. So I was kind of looking for an excuse to give him another week. But like I said, the way the price rises and injuries have fallen, it just wasn't really possible. But I mean, it's so hard to predict who's going to score points every week in that Liverpool attack. I mean, Jota and Gakpo got 2 goals each last night. Darwin scored a great goal and I thought played really well in that match for them. Diaz, I won't go into because we'll talk about him in a bit, but Jesus, he is an outstanding player, playing in the absolute peak form of his career. And then you've got Salah, one of the greatest goal scorers we've ever had in the Premier League, and he hasn't returned big in the last few games, but he's had opportunities. I mean, I watched the highlights of that Liverpool-Bournemouth game, and they're a superb team. Liverpool, it's really, really clicking for them at the moment. And okay, they were playing a team who invited it a lot more than maybe Wolves will, although Wolves aren't necessarily a sit-back team. And like you said, they've got injuries in defence. But Bournemouth really allowed Liverpool to play, gave them loads of space, and they could have been punished. But I mean, Salah had 2 really good opportunities. Diaz had other chances to score as well. They Bournemouth could have got absolutely murdered in that game, and I think that's how a lot of teams are going to feel when they play Liverpool, because they've got so much threat all over the place. I've seen wildcards without any Liverpool attackers, and I completely understand. And I've seen wildcards with Diaz, Salah, not so much Jota anymore, but those 2, and I understand as well. So it's a key decision, I think.
Yeah, I'm really scared because obviously it would be.
Don't be scared, man.
Yeah, it would be basically ironic that I'd had the kind of, I guess courage is the wrong word, but I kind of went against Haaland and put my money on Salah. Salah had his best starts of the season for a few years. He's done well. He's not had a really bad start or anything, and he's delivered in 4 or 5 games so far. And I sell him, go to Haaland, and Haaland could get like an assist or even blank at Newcastle, and Salah gets a hat-trick at Wolves. It's entirely possible given how the fixtures fall and given the injury that now Mosquera's got. I'm really worried. There's no way I'd go in without any Liverpool attack. You are right. I mean, the points do get spread around that front 3, but whereas for City that isn't the case. So the logic of going Haaland over Salah as your heavy hitter is there. Can you go both? Not when Arsenal have got Leicester and Southampton, and that's the thing, because you need Saka. I think that's the problem. So you probably need more courage to go without Salah or Haaland than you do Saka, but I think Saka could do damage in those two fixtures as well. So it's just the timing of the fixtures make it very difficult to make that choice now. But I think many of us are doing that. Anything else you want to pick out from the attacking data here? I mean, Man United is interesting at their third. Surprising. I watched them last night, and again, I thought they were pretty poor. Bruno, just I don't know. I mean, Review and all the other algorithms, including Rate My Team, still rate Bruno highly in terms of an asset. But I've not seen anything from him this season that made me think that I'm worried about not having him.
No, I wouldn't be going anywhere near him. I think there's so many better options. I think there's better options at less than 6 million than Bruno Fernandes if I was picking someone this season. Penalties, it feels like we're getting less penalties than we've seen before. I think he's personally way out of form as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of rotation going in the attack. Garnacho is in and out of the team. Diallo, is he right? Xerxes, is he what they need up front? I don't know. It's they're creating chances, and and Ten Hag gave some really insightful analysis when they asked him what was going wrong, and he said, "We need to score goals." And I was like, but that is basically it, because they did way enough against way enough. That's not a phrase. They did enough against Palace to win that game. And they should have put away some of the chances they had, but they're not. And I just don't know why you would stick with him. I'm seeing people stick with him, and I just think, no, come on, wouldn't be going anywhere near him.
Yeah, I feel the same. We aren't getting as many penalties, so that's got to be a factor. I mean, the bar seems to be ridiculously high. That could be lowered at any point, of course, once they have their meeting that they're going to have, where they go, "Oh, we're a bit harsh. Let's start giving some penalties." Then perhaps we'd look at him. But,
they're giving sending offs for managers taking one step out of their touchline.
Don't start with that.
Like Hertzler, they're giving sending offs for Trossard passing the ball of the thing, and they're not booking players like Vicario who grab the ball outside his own penalty area and chuck it across the pitch. But clear-cut penalties like pulling down Kudus, which is about the most blatant penalty I have ever seen. Oh no, we'll review that. It's fine. Absolute joke. Every year they find new ways to.
Yeah, well, mistakes are made, but it does seem that penalties are a variable every season that start off one way or another, and it settles down after 10 games normally, doesn't it? Spurs have had a tough start to the season, tougher than the teams around them, yet they're fourth here, and they were much, much better. Obviously, I got returns from Son, 2 assists. I was really impressed with them, actually. I watched the game, and they were on it, and really didn't. They were relentless against Brentford, and Brentford couldn't handle them, and that has won me round. I mean, even though that I'm going to sell Son, I think I want a ticket in that raffle when it comes to the Spurs attack, because I do think that, and we know Angie's in any game going to go on the attack here. That's the way he wants his Spurs side to play. So I'm not going without a Spurs attacker on my wildcard. What's your thoughts on that?
I haven't got one currently, but would be looking to get one in at some point. I was really impressed, like you say, that game was. It was described as beautiful chaos on Match of the Day, which I liked. So many chances. Maddison was unbelievable.
Yeah, fantastic
in that game, and that's what we want. That's like early last season form. Maddison dropping deep, linking play, killer balls through, driving forward. Great finish at the end. He could be the exit route out of Diaz, for example, if you started with him and Gakpo started putting a bit of pressure on and the fixtures turn a little bit. That could be your way into the Spurs attack. Something I'm thinking of. But Johnson, I don't think we can overlook Johnson at 6'5", 6'6", because he looks to be playing some of the best football I've seen him play since he's been in the Premier League. Son, I know we got 10 points, but he would be fourth choice for me, because I think Solanke's got big potential as well. I wouldn't be paying that for Son when you've got those 3 options ahead of him.
Yeah, and I just think that, Solanke, for me, although the fixtures aren't great in the short term, we'll bring up the ticker again. They go to it's United and Brighton. I think they can score in both those games. Though. I mean, from what I saw, the Brighton defence, Spurs' pace is going to absolutely terrify you because
we can't play like that against Spurs.
Solanke, Son, and Johnson. I look at all three of them and think, well, they're going to cause havoc because even Gibbs White, for the penalty, Gibbs White outpaced your defence. Now Gibbs White's quick, but he's not surge away from defence quick, and yet he did. So Johnson and Son and Solanke, I don't know how you're going to handle that. I really don't.
I think take out Estupinan or Kadioglu, and we've got the slowest back three in the Premier League in Veltman, Van Heck, and Dunk. There's no pace.
Yeah,
it's a massive concern, and I hadn't seen it. I'd seen it a couple of times in some of the previous games, but it did look like when it became a problem, Hertzler addressed it. I don't think he did that against you.
You play too high. You basically
on the halfway line.
Yeah, I know. So for our equaliser,
it's suicidal. It's suicidal.
White just knocked it through, and Jota, who's a new signing, he's not that quick. He's quick, but he's not like he ain't. And you didn't catch him up, and he just, so he's running with the ball. He's a fairly average pace player running with the ball. You didn't catch him, and he just rolled it across Sousa to score. It was one of the most simple goals I've ever seen a score because you didn't have anyone at the back who could catch him or keep up with Sousa either. So I can only see, unless Hertzler changes that line and plays a bit deeper, I can only see you conceding to teams with pace week after week. I don't think Spurs are going to struggle in that game.
I know, but then I've seen us play against Rashford. I've seen us play against Saka and Martinelli in that game, and okay, they had good spells of domination, but I still hadn't seen the way Brighton. It was almost like an overconfidence that they would just kind of keep 100% of the ball retention, and it wouldn't really matter. And if they did lose it, they would be able to press quick enough to win it back. But it went back to the De Zerbi days of just thinking. There needs to be a different way to play this game, and after you get caught out a couple of times by it, you have to do something a bit different, and we didn't. And it's so frustrating to watch. It really is, because you know what's coming. You lose the ball, you see the ball go over the top, and you think, what's that? We're going to concede.
Going back to Spurs, though, I mean, after United and Brighton, which I think they can score in both those games, it's West Ham at home, Palace away, Villa at home, Ipswich at home, City away, Fulham at home. They're good home games. I mean, they're going to score goals in all of those games. Maybe not City away, but having said that, they've gone to the Etihad and scored 4. They've scored 2 or 3 goals before. So I just look at Spurs and think there's goals. There's goals in that team. Not clean sheets, but certainly goals. So I want a Spurs player or a Spurs attacker in my wild card, at least one anyway.
What do you think about Porro? Because Porro was the one who. He was never going to cover the attack, but we thought he had enough attacking potential to, make up for the lack of clean sheets potentially. But he was an easy sell for me on my wild card, and I'm not looking back.
I'm not giving anything away. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
He was an easy sell, but he was a reluctant sell, I guess. I think that he's still going to have his moments this season where we regret not having him. And I think that run of fixtures, he's going to profit from some of those games. And I never got him for clean sheets. And I do think he's going to get, 5 or 6 returns, 5 or 6 assists, maybe 5 or 6 goals. He's going to have games. He's going to get double figure returns, and he's going to be right up there. I mean, let's look at data now, and we'll get to defenders in a minute. But let's talk about goalkeepers first of all. And by the way, thank you so much for all the super chats so far. We've got 4 in the bank. We will get to them at the end of the show. So if you know the format now, please don't think we're not going to address them. We will. We'll be answering those questions. We'll be here till midnight if we have to. So it's fine.
You will,
even on the school night.
I think we're both off tomorrow, aren't we?
I'm not off. No.
Off.
Working from home, but I'm not off. So yes, please get that right. Working from home does not mean a day off.
No, I am off tomorrow. So yes, just want to shout to Sean Horgan, 1.6k watching live. Thank you all for tuning in. Do drop us a like if you haven't already, and do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Yes, indeed. Right. So Raya is top of this. I mean, Kelleher's there because he's got 1 start now and did very well.
Please,
does,
Forest,
when
please sign Kelleher. Please sign Kelleher in January. I really hope we do, because we need a keeper. Raya's top now, but got the injury, so let's talk about it. What do you make of it?
I think he's either. This is kind of sitting on the fence. I think he's either out until after the international break, or he's completely fine. I don't think he misses like 1 week.
So why, if he's completely fine, why didn't he play midweek? Why did they play a 16-year-old?
Making a point that, he got that injury in the Man City game. That's why he was down for so long and wasting time and all that. I don't know what goes to Arteta's mind. He was never going to play in the cup, I don't think. And it's an excuse to maybe give a youngster a chance. Although we did play Saka, I don't really know. He probably has got something, but like he's probably got like a little cut or something on his leg, which was enough to just give him a bit of a breather. And it's been kind of dressed up as, all of Arteta's cryptic, it's a very serious injury we've got, and you'll see tomorrow, and all of this kind of mysteriousness around it. I just think it's bollocks, isn't it? Just tell us.
Well, I mean, we're going to get a press conference tomorrow, right, from him. So he's going to get asked more. It's probably going to be the first question, right? So
how many times has this happened with Saka? Where it seems, Saka's going to be out for 6 weeks. He's taken a really heavy knock. He's not fit. He's not trained. Oh, he's back in the starting 11.
But that's Saka, isn't it? I mean, that's true. But Neto couldn't play midweek.
It's Arteta, though, isn't it? It's the way Arteta talks about injuries, like it's this really serious thing. I kind of feel like it's either not, or it actually is something serious. I just don't think it's like a little.
So what do you think we're going to get tomorrow, right? Because
we're going to get nothing.
We're going to get nothing at all.
No.
So when he's asked, he's going to say what? He's going to say, "We'll see." Is he? Is that what he's going to
say? We'll see if he can make the session today and make a late decision. Something along those lines.
Is he on at 9? Do we know yet? Is he on really early, or is he on in the afternoon? No. Okay, we don't know. So what are you going to do on your wildcard then? Because do you gamble? Do you go in with him and not have a reserve keeper? Is that what you're going to do?
No.
So what are you going to do? Have a 4 or 5 keeper as your backup?
No, I'm just going to go for Flecken.
Right, so you are not going to have him. Well, right, so you think he's going to be fine, but you're not going to have him
unless we get something Saturday morning, some kind of embargoed press conference. Unless I get some reassurance that he's going to start, I'm not going to risk not having a goalkeeper, because I'll go double Arsenal attack. I'll go for Havertz up top.
Really?
Because I want 3 Arsenal, and the trouble is, if you go for Raya without any news, and then he is out for 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to have to make an Arsenal transfer before you can bring in another one of their players. And I just think it gets really messy. Like, I don't want to wildcard into problems. Again, I'd rather just go for Flecken, and then I can move. But I've got those 2 free transfers. I could move to Ray in a few weeks when I probably do lose Havertz.
Okay, so what will you do then? So you get Havertz. Like, so I mean, you don't have to have 3 Arsenal. You could go in with just 2, so you can. So you could get Raya back quickly. But I guess you need 0.5 in the bank to do that as well. I know you need $1 million in the bank.
You need $1 million. Yeah.
So you're going to have to make 2 transfers anyway. Yeah. So to get him back, you've got to make 2 transfers. So I guess the logic is, if you've got to make 2 transfers, you might as well go in with 3 Arsenal and then lose.
Yeah, exactly. Lose Havertz. Because
Havertz,
I don't think I want to keep Havertz in the kind of medium term. I think he's a good option, but there's other strikers that I like Solanke, for example. So when I drop Havertz down to Solanke, then that could potentially be the route back to Raya.
Solanke's just scored again tonight.
There you go. I don't like the idea of going for Raya and a 4-5. I just think that's too much money in the goalkeeper position. Yeah. I don't like the idea of going for just Raya if he's got a doubt around him. So it would have to be Flecken for me. How about you?
I mean, I've got teams tonight. I've got teams that show Raya and teams without Raya. And I looked at going Flecken and another 4-5, maybe Muric, because the rotation's good with Ipswich. But I look at it and think they're 2 keepers that I'm not expecting clean sheets from. So I'm just getting why would I get 2 keepers that I might have to rely on save points when I might as well just have Flecken and a 4 million and rely on save points?
Yeah.
So I don't think a 4-5 rotation is worth doing. So if I don't get anything firm from Arteta tomorrow, it will be Flecken for me as well, yeah, I think, because I don't know if I'll go Havertz yet. I'll have a look. I might just go in with 2 Arsenal. It depends, but I see the logic in it. But you'd have to, and even if you go double defence, you could go Saliba down to a 4-5 to get the money to get Raya back quite easily, couldn't you? So you could go double defence and sell an Arsenal defender to get Raya back. But yeah, I guess going 3 Arsenal is the way to go anyway, because you've got to make the 2 transfers. So that makes sense.
I mean, would you go with double Arsenal defence in Gabriel and Saliba, for example, without Raya?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so, because set plays as well. I do. I mean, what do you make of I mean, we're not on defenders, but we might as well go there and have a look at defenders now while we talk about Gabriel, because when it comes to XGI non-penalty per 90, although Gabriel is only 16th in this with 0.20, he did exactly what we spoke about last week. He is so dominant, and he is the target at set plays. And Saliba at the moment is being used as a blocker. Saliba's down in 107th, 0.01. He's not had a shot on goal yet. So, it's clear at the moment that when corners come in, although Saliba's in the box, his role isn't to get on the end of it. His role is to block. And the target is Gabriel. Now, what tends to happen is managers go, well, that's what people are going to expect now, so I'm going to swap it round. So it could change. It could change, and Saliba could suddenly become the target on the near post or something. They will start to vary that set play, because obviously, unless they feel Gabriel is absolutely unstoppable, they're going to have to vary it up, because otherwise teams would just go, well, we'll put 2 men on Gabriel, grab his shirt, and then that will stop them scoring. So they're going to have to vary it, aren't they? So I wouldn't not get Saliba, because at the moment it looks like Gabriel's the only one getting targeted, because I would expect Arteta to do something different soon. But yeah, the set play threat is a massive flow, isn't it, from them?
Yeah, I mean, they're so good at them. I mean, Rice is good at them. Saka's good at them. They've got different routines as well. They can play it short and then whip it in. They can still aim for Gabriel, but, they go to take a long one. They're pulling his shirt. They do a short one. The defence branches off, and then suddenly Gabriel pops up at the back post rather than the front post. I know there's still ways they can target him. The key thing, like you mentioned, is that he looks up every time he goes up. He's looking to get his head on that ball, and he's great at it. We know how good he is. He's scored the most goals out of all defenders since he joined the league, and I imagine he's going to get a couple more between now and the end of the season. And he's the same price, isn't he? That's the key thing. If Saliba was a bit less, or if maybe Timber was, I mean, Timber is being talked about, isn't he? He's like 5'5", but he could be that mysterious serious injury that Arteta's talking about. He's got the threat of Fiore.
There's too much risk of rotation, though, isn't there?
I think so.
If you go Timber or Calafiore, I mean, I'd love to do that. I'd love to go, well, let's go Calafiore and gamble on him, because I do think long term he's going to be the one. He's going to get into that team, I think, over Timber. But at the moment with White, Timber, Calafiore, there's too much uncertainty. When you've got 2 incredible centre backs in Saliba and Gabriel, you're not going to do it, I don't think.
I mean, if Gabriel was 6'5" and Saliba was 6, would you be going for Gabriel then?
Yeah, I think I probably would.
There you go.
At the moment.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there's no contest when there's like 0.1 between them, then, is there?
No, and the thing is, previously we've had that doubt about Gabriel's starts, but because of the role he's playing at set pieces, I think he's got to start for them, because teams fear him. Every time it goes out for corner, they're going to fear him. So why would Arteta not play him week in, week out at the moment? He's going to. So that's gone. So that was always the thing that made you favour Saliba. But at the moment, no. But the double up looks good. If you're losing Raya, the double up looks good. If you don't want to go Havertz, and I think in the next 24 hours, I will have wildcards with that in and have another look at it. I haven't got that at the moment. Anyone else we want to pick out here? Walker's shot to the top of this. He's only got 170 minutes there. He's 0.51 because he had so many shots against Arsenal in that rear guard action. And yeah, he seemed to be one of the key threats, didn't he? Because he just seemed to be the spare man and being able to fire shots in. But Raya was equal to it. Lewis is there, as I said, in 10th, 0.23. Vardiol's down in 15th, 0.21. So there are, and Diaz is crept up as well, 0.21. So it's funny. It's almost like we're looking at the City defenders and going, well, we've got to factor in attacking returns because the clean sheets are so unreliable, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, De Ligt is an interesting one as well. You know, Man U have looked better, I think, defensively. He's showing up well here. He's 4th on the list. It's just the fact he's 5 million and not 4-5. If he was 4-5, I think he'd be really popular, but he's not. So you're having to pay that bit extra more for him. And, you know, do we fully trust Man U? And it's probably not until a few weeks until the fixtures start turning quite nicely. So he's one to monitor, I think. Probably not going to go there right now, but I have got my kind of eye on him. The defence I wanted to talk to you though about the Nottingham Forest defence in Milinkovic. Is that you pronounce it?
Milinkovic.
Milinkovic. Can't get it right. One of the 4 pronunciations I've done. Aina and Moreno. So Moreno, I bought in straight away in my wildcard. I was like, yeah, let's go for Moreno. And then 45 minutes gets taken off. I know Aina was on a yellow card up against Mitoma. They moved him to the other side, took Moreno off.
Yeah, that was strange.
Williams got booked immediately after coming on.
Yeah, for handball, wasn't it, or something?
And I
thought, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, but what do you make of that? Is Moreno not an option now, do you think?
Well, I thought I saw a tweet from a Forest fan who had a picture. Yeah, so there was a picture that came out only 2 days ago, and far away in the distance, it's a picture from the training pitch. Which I'm trying to see which account posted it on Instagram. Oh, Morgan Gibbs White posted it on Instagram.
No idea where you're going with this.
And in the background, there's a player with a boot on crutches, and it looks like Olo Aina, but I don't know if the picture is real or not.
Really? I thought you were going to say Moreno.
No, it looks like it. And I don't know if it's genuine or not. I can't check now, but I just saw it in passing the other day, and it does look like a genuine image. I will retweet it tonight, but I don't have time to look into the authenticity of it. So I would not do anything until we hear from Nuno on that.
If Aina's out, then Moreno is an option, then, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be a fake image. I will look at it, but it was on a tweet. It was on an Instagram post by Gibbs White. So I saw that and didn't have time to look into it. I still haven't. But I will, and I will retweet it if it's genuine. But no one else, I haven't seen anyone else mention it. But yeah.
Okay.
So I think the jury's out. We've got to wait for Nuno to see what the injuries is. I mean, Milinkovic is, if Ward-Prowse is going to be in the team, and I think he will be at the weekend, because I think Anderson will play the 10 and Ward-Prowse will play in the pivot with Yates. Ward-Prowse's corners are going to be a threat, and Milinkovic is going to be the target. So I don't think going Milinkovic is a bad idea while Ward-Prowse is in the team, because suddenly we've got a player who can, he's probably the best corner taker in the league, isn't he? I can't be many as good as Ward-Prowse. So yeah, I at the moment I'd probably veer towards Milinkovic. It changes every week. That's the problem. I really thought it was Moreno, but I was just puzzled by that substitution. So I guess Moreno hasn't played many matches yet, and so he can't do 90 minutes. So I guess what he thought there is, well, I'm going to have to sub Moreno anyway because he's not going to do 90. Aina's been booked against Mitoma, so I've got to take him away from Mitoma. So what I'll do, I'll switch Aina to the left, put Williams on Mitoma to guard against the double booking and the red. So that was his thinking. I don't think Moreno was injured. I don't think Moreno is not first choice. I just think because he knew he'd have to make a sub later in the half, and he didn't want to make that sub then, because I think if you use your half-time subs, it doesn't count towards one of your blocks of subs you can make. So I think it was Nuno just being clever with his subs. I think that's it. So I think Moreno is going to be fine, but at the moment, if you want to be absolutely certain, I would go Milinkovic.
Didn't seem very sensible at the time, but I saw him come on. I thought Moreno off for Williams. I thought it'd be Aina that went off because of the booking. I mean, the thing is, I looked into the stats of your fullbacks. I mean, Aina's stats are pretty grim reading. I think he's got like 2 or 3 goal involvements, whenever he's played in the league before. His like XGI per 90 isn't very. I mean, he's not going to be in the top 30. I know, because I know. Oh, he's 60th on this list. There you go, 0.05, which is really poor. Moreno's 106th, obviously with reduced minutes. I do like the idea of the fullbacks, and we know Moreno has had good history, particularly when he was at Villa. We got a couple of goals and a couple of assists, but I think I agree. I think I'm leaning towards Milinkovic, whoever it is, Milinkovic, right?
Yeah, Milinkovic. Yeah, absolutely. I've just blown up that image myself, and it looks real to me. I don't think it's fake. So
and it is Aina.
Well, he's got big hair. I don't know who else it can be. So Aina's got that haircut. He's got a haircut that stands out there. I will retweet it and see what people think. And it looks like it's an Instagram post from Morgan Gibbs White, unless it's an old Instagram post. So I need to look into that. But nothing's come out from Forest, and I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere else.
Well, Aina to start and score immediately. That's confirmed. Good.
But he will be in some wildcards, so we need to know for sure. And I don't know how Nuno will be, how transparent he'll be with injuries. I haven't really figured him out yet in terms of that. He probably won't give too much away.
And you'd go Milinkovic over Murillo.
I think so, because of Ward-Prowse taking corners. I think that they're both going to be targets, but Milinkovic has a reputation for goals from Serie A. I think he's had seasons where he's got 4 or 5 goals in Serie A, so he's a real threat from set plays normally. And he's a nailed on starter. There's no way he's not starting games. So yeah.
Yeah,
so
he got 14 for Fiorentina, which not bad return.
No. Yeah, I mean, that isn't a league where not every team's got powerful aerial threats, I suppose, but he's been fantastic. So he's going to start, and I think with Ward-Prowse he's going to get 1 or 2 goals. Okay, let's look at midfielders, because there's a lot to get into in midfielders, and I've got a lot of tables coming off of this. But this is the current XGI non-penalty per 90, and the data is correct this week. And obviously with fewer minutes and Kunku and Garnacho at the top, but the player that I want to talk about is Maddison, because he's there on 0.96 XGI non-penalty. He's leapt up there because he got an XG of 2, just over 2 in that game against Brentford. He was absolutely outstanding, and it was that game that pushed him up there. And I think overall for XGI, he's second behind Haaland now. And you just wouldn't expect it, would you? And when you look back at his games, he has had good games, but he's playing a deeper role, and he's got 3 assists and 1 goal. You're chairman of his fan club, so if you're not going to get him, nobody is. What are your thoughts? I mean, he's not been in any wildcards. I've got to say, I haven't seen anyone put him in the wildcard at the moment.
He's just that little bit too much, isn't he? I think it's 7.5. I think the fact Solanke's the same price as him at 7.5, probably on penalties, we think. Not 100% sure. But taking up a striker spot where there's some good options in the forward spot, but there's a lot of good options in midfield. And I'm sure we're going to talk about these options, but the midfield 5 I'm seeing on pretty much every wild card is Saka, Rodgers, Semenyo, Mbeumo, Diaz.
Yeah, you can't say that.
you can't really argue with any of those 5 picks, and that's why they're popular, because they're all really, really good assets. So where do you fit Maddison into that? Do you go for Maddison over Diaz? That's tough, because Diaz is so good and playing Wolves next. And it's not for a few weeks until Spurs' fixtures turn really nice. I haven't considered him on the wild card, but I'd love any excuse to bring him in, because I love him. But he has to deliver. 7.5 is pricey, and there's good options around that price, and he would have to deliver, pretty regularly. And yeah, he's been playing really well this season, and the returns are starting to come. So I hope he can kick on.
I want to talk about Palmer, because he's 31st in this list, down in 0.48. He's got the 2 goals, 4 assists. And when I've seen wildcards that look a bit different, there aren't many of them, but people who are going different are daring to put Palmer in for Saka, and then having Havertz up top. Now, Chelsea's fixtures, let's have a look at those. They've got Brighton and Forest at home. I do think, I've talked about the Brighton defence, and let's not go there again. I do think they can score against Brighton. I think Forest at home is not an easy game. And I would say that, but I don't think many would say that's an easy game anymore, because we are going to turn up like we did at Liverpool, and Chelsea aren't Liverpool. So I don't think Chelsea are going to score more than 1 goal in that game. I really don't. I think they'll probably beat us 1-0, or it'll be 1-1 or something like that. So I don't think that's an easy game, really. Liverpool away certainly isn't. Then it's Newcastle at home, United away, and Arsenal at home. So I don't think in that group of 6 matches they've got games where they're going to score loads of goals. I think Brighton at home they could, Newcastle at home they could. Other than that, it's not a great run, I don't think. Unless you're thinking they're going to thrash Forest by 3 goals, but I just don't see it. So where do you feel about Palmer? Because not only are the fixtures I don't think are that good, I still haven't seen enough from Chelsea. And Palmer, down in 31st, 0.48, he is undoubtedly one of my favourite players. Next to Trent, he's probably my favourite player. So I love him, and I think he's an outstanding player, and he's on penalties. But I'm still not drawn to it. How are you feeling about him?
I'm more drawn to him than you are, I think. My second wildcard team has got him in over Diaz. So we'll talk about it in a bit, but I've definitely considered him. I mean, he's similar in a way to Diaz in the fact that he's getting subbed off quite early in games, 67 minutes. He is obviously the focal point of the attack, but there's other players in the team. It's not just a Palmer show really at Chelsea this season. Jackson's really stepped up. I think he's an option for us as well. Madueke's had his little spell. He's been quite quiet the last few games. I wonder if there might be a change there. Neto coming in, or maybe even Palmer moving out to the right to bring in Nkunku, because Nkunku seems to be delivering every time he's on the pitch. And Sancho as well. I think he's been playing really well. I can't see him losing his spot. So, it's not just all about the talisman in Palmer. He's still getting returns. He's still looking good, still getting chances, but there's other options around. And 10.5 is a lot of money for him.
Are you not having Saka for Leicester and Southampton and back?
No, I've got him and Saka. I've got him and Saka. Yeah, I wouldn't be going without Saka for the next two. Definitely.
I'd like to see the rest of your team if you've managed to get Haaland, Saka, and Palmer in.
Haaland, Saka, and Palmer in. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I want to see how you've done that. Team WD.
You haven't put it in. You have to drop it in.
Forest is an easy game, Mark. I refer the honourable gentleman to the result at Stamford Bridge last season, which was Chelsea 0, Forest 1. So they haven't beaten us. Didn't beat us last season. Well, they did. They beat us at home, but that was the last game of the season when Forest was safe. But we got a 1-0 win at Stamford Bridge last season. So I just don't see us going there and getting thrashed. I don't see us getting thrashed anywhere this season at the moment. So unless things change, but Palmer, I don't question it. And I don't question Chelsea. I think over that run they will win games, but I don't think they're gonna flow goals in many of them. And for Palmer to return heavily, they've got to score 2 goals. I mean, they can win 1-0 when he gets the goal, or they can win 1-0 when he gets the assist. But you want them to score two or more goals, don't you? Mm. And I look at those 6 games. I think the only one where I think they're going to score 2 or more goals are Brighton at home and Newcastle at home. And I don't know. I just don't know. I've watched them this season, and Palmer hasn't been as influential as I would expect. He hasn't had as much of the ball, and he hasn't had. I think his touches in the box are like 1.9 per game, whereas last season they were 4.3. So he's getting far fewer touches in the box this season than he did last. And the data doesn't lie. He's, it says here, there we go, like 1.96 touches in the box. Compared to Saka, who's on 8.86. And eventually that, if he's not touching the ball in the box, he's not scoring goals unless he's hitting worldies, which he can do, but touches in the box does matter. It shows that has regressed significantly from last season, which means that he just doesn't seem as attractive to me.
Well, I think Maresca is trying to build them into more of a unit, more where the goal can kind of come from everywhere and not be so predictable in where those are coming from. I mean, it's players like Casado playing like really killer through balls like through the middle of the park at the moment, and they've got so many options across the different attack. Like I said, I don't think he is going to be as influential as he was last season, because he doesn't really need to be, because they've got other players that can step up. The Brighton game is the one to get him for. We haven't got a good record against Chelsea recently, as much as I'd like us to. There's always goals in those games too, and like we've seen, there's real potential for them to hit balls over the top. But is it necessarily going to be Palmer? If Palmer's a bit, I'm not saying he's off it, because he has started the season well. But he's not. If he's not, if you're playing a ball over the top, it's probably not going to be Palmer that runs onto it necessarily, because they've got Jackson, because they've got Sancho, because they've got Madueke, because they've got Nkunku. you know, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be Palmer that necessarily is going to be the key target for the Brighton game. But that said, he has got penalties, and we know how good he is. I'm very tempted by him.
I don't. If you can get Palmer, Saka, Haaland, and your team looks good enough, I'm not knocking that at all. But if it's Palmer over Saka, and I'm aware that he's outscored him to this point, but Saka's 2 fixtures are very strong, and I just don't. I don't think. I mean, you can go in with Havertz and think that covers it, but I think then
I don't. Why would you? Why, like, it's 2 promoted teams at home in a row. You know, when that happens, you get the best asset from that team. I mean, I personally haven't seen Palmer over Saka in many teams. I'm surprised that there are people doing that. It definitely wouldn't be for me.
Son's got an injury tonight, gone off, and it looked like it's precautionary low, so we'll find out from Ange.
That laugh wasn't at his injury; it was more at you for wildcarding, and it's another.
Yeah,
reason.
There you go. See, you know, the luck it goes with me as well. In Bumo, a must. I take it 17th, 0.62 here. He's in every wildcard that I've seen. No one's going to go in without him. What do you think about Carvalho? What do you think about Carvalho for Brentford as well? Because he got the start instead of Sharda at Spurs. I do expect Sharda to start in the home games that they've got in the next, well, certainly against West Ham. I think Sharda will play. I think Carvalho will as well. Carvalho, he's not on this table, but do you think that he's an option?
No.
If you're going to double up on Brentford? No.
Nah, it's a bit early, isn't it? I mean, there's so many good options around that 5 to 6 million bracket. You know, Smith Rowe, Rodgers, Semenyo. They're leagues ahead of Carvalho, I think, because they're all nailed on. They've all got, you know, they're all almost talisman of their teams, or heading that way. Maybe Rodgers a bit less so with Watkins there, but you know, Smith Rowe is just at the heart of everything, and the positions he's taking up in the box, even when he's not getting the ball and it's not going to be registered on this data. I think he looks so threatening in those matches. And I mean, Semenyo, I mean, it's what, the most shots, second to Haaland or third. It's, you know, an unlucky goal chalked off against Liverpool for a fraction offside. He's looked brilliant, and you know, Bournemouth gave it a go against Liverpool, and it did lead to some good chances for them. It did also lead them to getting opened up quite a few times. But if they continue to play like that, I'm sure they're going to score goals. And don't forget, they've got 2 promoted teams in the next 2 as well. So I wouldn't be going without Semenyo. I can see why he's so popular.
And here's a table comparing Semenyo, Smith Rowe, McNeil, Rodgers, Carvalho, and Barnes, who I think are the midfielders in that lower bracket that are worth considering. McNeil we haven't spoken about, but he's been incredibly creative this season. He's created 20 chances, which is by far the most on this table here. 6 big chances as well. Everton's fixtures are good, very good indeed. 5-4. What about McNeil? I mean, they go to Palace, Newcastle, Ipswich, Fulham. So they've got 3 of the next 4 at home: Palace, Newcastle, and Fulham, and then Ipswich and Southampton away. That's an outstanding run. Calvert-Lewin or McNeil, who would you rather have? Or Ndiaye, maybe.
Well, I like Ndiaye. You know, I watched the Everton highlights, and I was really impressed with him. And at 5-4, he's kind of like the cheapest one you can get without getting like a Stewart at 4-5. You know, if you want an actual playing player, you go for him and potentially save the 0.6 over Calvert-Lewin. I like Ndiaye out of the 3. He's the one that I've actually got in one of the teams that I'm going to show. I don't know what it is about McNeil. He's so all or nothing, and he's so rarely all. You know, he can deliver you like a 13, 14 pointer, but he'll also get like 10 consecutive blanks in a row. Yeah, I mean, chances created 20 is incredible for him. Everton can't really keep doing what they're doing though. They have looked good going forward. They should have scored more goals. They should have won more games, but surely there comes a point when now with Branthwaite back, where Dyche says, look, we need to just get a 1-0 here. We can't keep, you know, it's great to play this all swashbuckling football where we get forward, but if we're conceding stupid goals and not getting into our shape and not looking organized and, you know, looking like we're a threat from every cross that comes into the box, they have to address that as a priority. So I wonder if we're going to start seeing a different Everton now the fixtures are nicer.
Yeah,
which is a bit less attacking.
You do wonder if they looking at those fixtures, Dyche will go, right, this is the time to really knuckle down and start winning games 1-0, like you say, and then we're not going to get the goals that we expect from that run. And with Branthwaite back, that gives them the foundation to do that, I guess. I've seen people go Mikalenko as their, because he's
I can't understand it. I can't understand.
You don't see it.
No, because it could be that Dyche does that and he tries to play a more defensive way. But I haven't seen anything from Everton to make me think that at the moment the players are capable of playing like that. They're just so at sea when teams seem to counter at them, and crosses coming in, set pieces. Pickford looks off it, dropping the ball. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the Mikalenko pick at all. I'd rather pay 0.1 more and get Moreno.
Of these midfielders, then I guess Semenyo, who is the standout in terms of touches in the box per 90, shot per 90, and shots in the box per 90. He reigns supreme over Smith Rowe, McNeil, Rogers, Carvalho, and Barnes. I guess he's the one then, because he's going up in price tonight, according to the tools.
Yeah.
So you've got him in, and he's locked for you, I take it.
Absolutely locked. Yeah, he was one of the first players I bought in. I liked him last year as a player. When they had Solanke out for a bit, or I remember Semenyo was playing up top and looked really good. I remember he had a good spot. He was a mid last year, wasn't he? Was he a 4-5 mid? Yeah, I remember.
Well, he's a mid this year. Was he a forward last year?
Yeah. Was he? He was a forward last year, wasn't he? A 4-5 forward, and this year he's a mid. He swapped around. And I remember the brace he got when we were all banking on Solanke to score. I think it was in that double game week. So he kind of announced himself there, and I think with Solanke going, he steps up almost like Mbeumo has done with Tony out as well. He's not a long-term project. The fixtures for Bournemouth look pretty rough after a few weeks, but an out of position player for 5-6 playing for an attacking side against two promoted teams, sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to move off him though for game week 8, so that's the only thing. So what would you do then? Would you move to McNeil at that point for Ipswich, Fulham, Southampton? It's not a bad switch.
Potentially, or I've taken Smith Rowe out at the moment, but then from game week 8, Smith Rowe has Villa, Everton, Brentford, Palace. That's not a bad run. Or if I've got Ndiaye, I've got Ipswich, Fulham, Southampton. So it could even just be Semenyo just goes on the bench and he comes in.
Yep, absolutely. I concur. I think if I was Semenyo's been in some of my teams and still is. I favour him over McNeil at the moment for that reason. Smith Rowe, I don't know. I've let him go. I had him from the start, and now he's 5'8". So I guess I shouldn't be stubborn and let that be a factor. But it is right. And the fixtures are better for Semenyo short term. And then, like you say, I would make up my mind at that point. Maybe going back to Smith Rowe is the way to go at that point. But
I thought Fulham were fantastic against Newcastle. They really, they got kind of a weird set of players. Smith Rowe's obviously the marquee talisman there, but Jimenez coming back in after he's been so out of form. Traore, we know how hit and miss he can be. Iwobi, Reece Nelson. I mean, these are all kind of almost like cast off players in some regard, aren't they? But they seem to be clicking really well. And
Traore's playing really well. Yeah,
he's brilliant.
Traore's been outstanding for them, and it means that Nelson can't get in the team at the moment, and let alone Harry Wilson. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm worried about him actually because Forest play Fulham Saturday, and Traore is the one I'm probably most worried about. He's
his crossing's decent.
Yes,
well.
improved.
He's hitting shots on target. It's unbelievable.
I know. He looks like a changed player, doesn't he? And so fair play for Silva for getting that out of him because we've not seen it consistently at all. We've seen flashes, but never over a period of 4 or 5 games, and that's what we're getting. So. I mean, he's not out of the question, but yeah, Smith Rowe's the one there, isn't he? And I think these players, like Rogers, is going nowhere in any wild cards. And like I say, Carvalho, perhaps we need a few more games before he's an option. But obviously, at the price 4.8, it's tempting to have a look at him if you're really scratching around for funds. I don't think it's a bad move because I think he's in that Brentford team and he's a quality player, no question.
I think if you need someone for under 5 million, I think I'd take the punt on him, but I'm glad I don't have to.
You're doubling on Brentford's attack, which perhaps isn't a great situation to be in. Let's talk about Diaz because he's the poster boy and he's had 4 seasons, and this data shows just how much he is exceeding expectations and previous seasons. Everything is up, but I think the standout. I mean, shots in the box, big chances,
That conversion.
XGI non-penalty per 90. But yeah, look at the accuracy and conversion. His accuracy at the moment is 72.7. In previous seasons, it's been 34, 29.6 and 34.2. So you think his average accuracy of his shooting is about 30%. He's exceeded that massively. He's more than doubled it so far. And his conversion rate is up to 38% when previous best has been 14.8. But he's getting more shots in the box. And therefore, and his XGI is up from his previous best 0.57 to 0.80. So the quality of his chance is better, which explains perhaps his accuracy, which explains perhaps his conversion. But you got to look at this and think it's not sustainable, right? He is going to regress. And the other factor is he's only getting 70 minutes per game. And I don't see that changing. Despite him being superb and a key player, he's going to get subbed on around 70 minutes. So given that he's going to regress and he's not getting 90, is he essential on a wild card?
Well, it's a funny question. Like, is he going to regress? Because if he was posting like average numbers, you'd be like, oh, you know, it's not. I mean, these numbers are absolutely fantastic. Even if they halved, for example, he'd still have like some of the best conversion we've ever seen in the Premier League. So he can afford for it to drop substantially before it's an issue. I guess you look at last year, look at that conversion of 8%. That was the lowest, but in 21-22 it was 10%. So, you know, is that his kind of baseline? And, you know, was the 14 a blip where in 22-23? I think the key thing is, and I was completely wrong about him at the start of the season, I've always really, really liked him as a player. I think he's such a fun player to watch, but I didn't think he had that kind of clinical side to him. And I just take that back from what I've seen. I think he's the runs he's making and the way he's looking for goal now is different to what I've seen from him in previous seasons. He just has that kind of like shoot on sight mentality. You know, he's taken up that mantle of being, I want to be the person getting the goals for this team at the moment. And I haven't seen that from him in previous seasons. Maybe a bit more of a creator, maybe a bit more tricky on the wing. He's now just making those direct runs through the middle. And players are finding him. Kanate found him with that ball. He's got Trent on the other side. You know, that Trent to Mane, you know, kind of synchronization that we've seen so effective. I think he can step it up this season and do it all year. The issue is Gakpo, because I like Gakpo. I think he's started the season really strongly himself. He's come off the back of a really good Euros. We know he's his biggest threat. And I don't think that 70-minute is going to stop happening. I think there's always going to be that coming in. So are you happy with a player who I think is going to continue posting good numbers and continue being a threat, but is going to miss 30 minutes of every match and get the occasional bench?
No. So but the trouble is, I'm not happy going to Wolves away without any Liverpool attack either. And Diaz didn't start in midweek, so he's going to start that game.
I think I'm going to get him and I'm going to drop him immediately. That is currently the way I'm sitting with it. I'm going to have him for 1 week and then I'm going to look to move him on.
Yeah, that could well be what I do as well. I mean, the one key stat I didn't mention here is XG per shot this season, 0.19. That's the highest it's ever been. 0.13 last season. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that is a lot with the volume of shots that he's getting. So he's getting a higher volume of shot, and yet the average is a lot higher in terms of XG. So that really does stress that the quality of his shots he's getting is going up. And that's because if let's look at some heat maps, he's playing more centrally and getting more touches in the box than ever before. And we've talked about this for a couple of weeks now. And this is his data versus Salah. I mean, you can see Salah is still dominant in many of the key metrics. Certainly touches in the box and shots in the box and shots on target. But Diaz has improved, and it's the price difference, 7.9 to 12.8. And the heat map shows that he's getting into areas now, perhaps even more so than Salah in terms of central areas. And you're right, it's the supply from the right. Salah and Trent and Szoboszlai, really creative. All that side, Diaz is being told to get into the box, to get on the end of it, and it's working. And he's getting high quality chances, and he's converting them.
Jesus,
I don't think he can.
Those Salah stats are pretty
you look at this and you think, well, he's not going to cover Salah. No one is saying that. but you want some coverage of Liverpool's attack when they go to Wolves away. And if you can't hold Salah, I think it's very difficult to wildcard without Diaz myself.
Yeah,
but it does go against my better judgment in terms of minutes for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's 5 million, isn't it? That's the absolute key thing, and this is why I didn't start with Salah. I thought Jota would be the one that could not match him, but could get close to him, could be enough to do enough to justify being 5 million less. And it's Diaz who looks like it's going to be that. I mean, like I said earlier, I think things could twist around. It could be Jota gets a brace against Wolves, then suddenly everyone's thinking about getting Jota back in, because that threat of Gakpo is so strong. But all you can really do, I mean, we haven't got a lot of data to work with. You know, we always say, you know, we're not working with much there. But from what I've seen, it just looks like a different Diaz from what I've seen so far, and a lot of that is based on eye test and things. But I just yeah, I've always liked him as a player. I doubted whether he could be a great fantasy asset for us. I now think he can be. So I will almost certainly have him on the wild card, at least for 1 week. Or if he gets a brace again against Wolves, how are we going to sell him after that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not essential to sell him at all. I think he'll be a player that we're happy to hold, but it's the X-Mins and what impact that has. It hasn't made a difference so far. You know, and we haven't seen penalty. I mean, you know, Salah's penalties aren't a factor yet. They haven't been. They will be, of course, over the course of the season. But if it's just open play, Diaz is doing a very good job at covering what Salah can do at the moment, even though the data still is very much in Salah's favour. And that can turn at any moment. But I do think, yeah, Diaz makes sense on a wild card, but he's perhaps not a long-term keeper. I agree with you. Absolutely.
God, they're just, you know, obviously I rated Klopp, great manager, but there's something about the Liverpool attack this season where, you know, that ball McAllister played through, was it to Salah on the right? He played an absolutely beautiful ball, which took out about 3 defenders. You got Diaz making those runs. You've got Salah causing havoc. Szoboszlai looks really good in that 10 role. You've got Trent moving into space. There's just so many ways they can hurt teams in attack. And, you know, when they're bringing on players like Gakpo and Nunez, who are looking half decent as well, it's, you know, they could be up there with Arsenal and City this season. Be interesting to see how they.
Well, yeah, I hope so.
They continue, or if the wheels do start coming off. But they look good at the back. They look good up front. Yeah, playing really well.
No, we want a 3-horse race for sure, don't we?
Be great. Yeah.
Let's look at forwards. Haaland, of course, at the very top there, 1.04 XG on penalty. We haven't spoken about Jackson, so we talked about Palmer. Jackson as coverage of Chelsea.
Yeah, I like him. I wasn't saying that a few weeks ago. I was quite critical. I saw some people brought him in, and I thought it was a bit of a ridiculous decision. We laughed about his new 100-year contract, which means he's going to end his career and die at Chelsea. The amount of years they've given him. What we're seeing from him now, though, is that confidence to finish chances. And I thought both the goals he took were brilliant. Both, you know, especially that second one, a really quick finish into the bottom corner. He'd have hit that wide last season, no doubt at all. He'd have snatched it, taken it too quickly, hit it wide. He's a player in real confidence. And talk about, you know, in his post-match conference, he was talking about it, and I can't remember what exactly they said. They said something like, "Oh, you like scoring here," or something like that. And I like scoring against everyone, or I'll score against everyone. He said something which,
yeah, no, he did. He and that's not a, you know, you don't say that unless you're feeling fully.
Yeah. And you know, was it Pochettino last season who said, "Oh, we could go on to be one of the best strikers the Premier League's ever seen," or something like that? And we all kind of laughed. But there's, again, it's similar with Diaz. There's something about him this season which is kind of drawing me to him, and it's probably the 4 goals and the 2 assists, to be honest. But it's also just the way he's playing, the way he's kind of stepped up to take that responsibility, to say this isn't just the Palmer show. It's, you know, it's the Jackson show with the Palmer show with everyone else. I like that kind of thing with it, and I do wonder if he can get close to Palmer, at least in the short term. You know, things can turn around very quickly, but
it's like the Diaz thing. It's the minutes, and he's got Nkunku breathing down his neck, and Nkunku got the hat trick midweek. Okay, against Barrow, and there's no question Jackson will start against Brighton. And you know, we talked about the Brighton high line. It's more likely to be Jackson that causes problems than Palmer, I would say, in terms of being a direct threat. Palmer could easily come out with more points for sure. But in terms of that pace against the high line, Jackson's going to be a key player. But he's only going to get 65, 70 minutes because he's going to come off for sure, isn't he?
Yeah, and they all are because of the options they've got. And so it's how much damage can he do in those 60, 70 minutes. And Chelsea still look a bit vulnerable at the back at times. And yeah, I'm not totally sold on them yet, despite kind of a few good results. I mean, you've got Havertz as well, who, you'd probably be going Jackson over Havertz. Havertz looks great, but he might be playing a bit deeper. So there's kind of question marks around his position and role in the side. And then you've got Solanke, who's just going to play probably 90 minutes every match for them and probably on penalties. So I think certainly in the medium to longer term, Solanke is the one that I go for. But given the form at the moment, Jackson is hard to ignore. I mean, 0.85 XGI on penalty per 90 is incredibly high, and 4 goals is a great start. I mean, look, you talk about overperforming that. I mean, 80% accuracy with his shots. I mean, what was his accuracy last season? It's probably about 10% from what I remember.
I don't have a compare for him done, but it wasn't 80. No,
80%.
But then Haaland wasn't 79. Haaland wasn't 79. So
Haaland's done it for years. Like, he doesn't. We know that he doesn't need 80% accuracy to keep. He doesn't need the stats to be that high to keep scoring the goals. Whereas Jackson might, because if that suddenly drops and that conversion drops, then he's not going to maybe get as many goals because he's not going to get as many chances.
Let's look at forwards comparison because João Pedro is out. We know that. The crutches behind the TV.
Well on Slippers.
Yeah, that Slippers found on Instagram wasn't a hoax, and it was a fact. It's still a strange place to store your crutches. Never mind.
Very weird. Very weird.
But thank you for the visual clue, João Pedro. That was very good of him. I do start to wonder whether footballers are aware that FPL managers are detectives and they've only got to leave a little clue like that and it's going to get found. It must be a thing, I imagine. I can't imagine the Brighton staff are very happy about him putting that out and then obviously people lashing onto it, but it's been confirmed today that he's out.
I mean, Hertzler, I don't think Hertzler would have kept it close to his chest anyway.
No,
I think he would have said something. I mean, the thing is, he has left it a bit vague, isn't he? He said, we don't think he's available for the weekend.
Right.
Whereas the crutches would then indicate that he's definitely not. So, yeah, you might be right.
So we got Jackson, Chris Wood, Solanke, Havertz, Calvert-Lewin, and and Watkins here. People have said Vardy should be in there maybe, but I think these are the strikers that I'm seeing mostly making up wildcard teams, with obviously Haaland, who's not listed here for obvious reasons. And Jackson's data, he's really impressive. He's leading the way for shots on target per 90, 1.98. But other than him, obviously it's Watkins who's prominent here. Shots per 90, 3.28. All of them in the box because his shots in the box per 90 are 3.28. He has got 4 returns to Jackson 6. I guess you would rather have Watkins because what we saw last season. And he is, I was going to say he's a 90-minute man, but he's not really with Duran there as well. So X-Mins is a bit of an issue for Watkins, although we are starting to see him play beyond the 60-minute mark now, which would suggest
he looks fit as well now. I think at the start of the season there was times where maybe he looked a little bit off it, but he didn't look off it against Wolves at any point. Even in the last bits of the game, he was making great runs, linking play up. I'm not worried about Watkins' minutes going forward, unless he's sub for Duran, but not in terms of fitness.
Yeah, okay. Wood or Calvert-Lewin?
God, what a choice! Imagine having that choice at the start of the season. No
question, Calvert-Lewin's got the fixtures long term.
I don't really want either.
Yeah, I mean, Forest have got Fulham at home, Chelsea away, Palace at home, Leicester away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home. So we've got 4 at home in the next 6. I don't see.
Is Taiwo just? That's what I was going to say. Is he just not a factor at all?
Well, he didn't come on against you, did he? And I looked at it and thought, if we're not bringing him on against the slowest backline I've ever seen in the Premier League, I think there's real issues with his fitness. There must be, and he's an emergency measure at best at the moment. Because he could have come on and he could have caused you problems, but he didn't. So I still think he's weeks away, it seems, from being a real threat to Chris Wood. Chris Wood will start for the foreseeable. So I don't think Taiwo's a threat to him. And I do the only issue is I don't see us scoring many goals. We're not a team who's going to score more than one goal in many games, I don't think. So I look at the Fulham game, Gibbs White out. If we win, it'll be 1-0. Chelsea away, if we score, it'll be 1 goal. Palace at home, if we score, it'll probably be 1 goal. We might get 2 at Leicester. So we're not prolific. Everton are more of a threat because of the way they've played. But you quite rightly said, how long before Dyche goes, enough is enough. Let's just play for a clean sheet. Let's play a 1-0. Let's take less risk. I'm not going to play Ndiaye. I'm going to play 3 holding midfielders. That's the thing. And then, Calvert-Lewin's going to get more starved for chances than he's getting at the moment. What's his shot per 90 at the moment? Calvert-Lewin's coming out at 2.40. So Chris Wood's beating him. I mean, even with the start that Everton have had, where I thought they've looked a bit more of attacking threat than Forest, Chris Wood's shot in the box and shot per 90 is better than Calvert-Lewin's, 2.56 to 2.40.
Yeah.
So
I don't want either. I think they both score pretty similarly over the next few weeks. Calvert-Lewin will probably get an injury.
Yeah, and Chris Wood won't. That's the thing. Chris Wood is more durable than Calvert-Lewin.
I think I'll lean towards Wood.
There's a 0-1 in it.
Yeah, Wood.
The other reason why I'd lean towards Wood is if you go Wood, you've got McNeil as an option. Whereas if you go Calvert-Lewin, are you really going to double on Everton? And if you want to move off of Semenyo, McNeil could be one of the options. But are you going to go McNeil if you've also got Calvert-Lewin up top? I know you'll say, well, the fixtures are good. And if you want McNeil, why wouldn't you want to double up? But double up on Everton? I don't know. So I think it makes the McNeil option more appealing if you don't also have Calvert-Lewin. I don't know why. Maybe that's a crazy statement, but I think it does mentally for me.
Is baseline Boner is a double Calvert-Lewin as well?
Baseline Boner? Oh, you said no Wood jokes. Did you do that on purpose, or was that?
I did.
Oh, that's poor. Absolutely poor.
But it is double.
Yeah, it is because he Calvert-Lewin misses more chances, and so we know that shots off target are going to hit BPS. The thing about Chris Wood is he doesn't have many shots, but when he does have a shot, his accuracy is 80%. Yeah, look at that. Yeah. And for most strikers, you go, that's going to regress, but I don't think it will because he does normally hit the target.
Yeah, he does. He's very effective at what he does. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I just think Calvert-Lewin is the only way is down for him at the moment. Whereas, if Chris will keep starting, we know what we're going to get from him, and it could end up being quite good. So people are enjoying the baseline Boner, by the way. It's so childish. Yeah, Chris Wood just about. Would you say the same?
Yeah, I think just about. I mean, I have got wildcard teams with Calvert-Lewin in where I just can't get to Wood, so to speak. I can't get that 0-1.
Can't get Wood.
I can't get to. I'm refusing to go there.
It's like hypnosis for that or something.
Acupuncture, maybe. I don't know. You can get pills as well. But I said no jokes, and you just goaded me into it. I do like Ndiaye as well, and that's the other thing. It's like if you want to cover Everton, maybe Ndiaye is not a bad option. His data is nowhere near as good as anyone on this chart, maybe, and he is more of a 10, I think, than an out-and-out goal scorer. But if you want to cover Everton's attack for those fixtures, I don't see anything wrong with Ndiaye because he's 5'4", and obviously you can get to Pedro to Ndiaye easily. So I've considered him as well.
Yeah, he's and like I said, he's the cheap one that I've got. The issue is, and I think you nailed it earlier when you said what happens when Dyche goes free in midfield and then Ndiaye gets dropped. Then suddenly you've got a 4 million asset as a forward just dead, and you might as well have just gone for Stewart.
I can see him doing that. I can see him going, I'm going to play 3 defensive mids, and my wingers and Calvert-Lewin. So I just don't know how long Ndiaye. I don't think Ndiaye's going to start every game. That's the thing.
I think I might just kill off that spot. If I'm looking at Ndiaye, I might just go for Stewart and bank the 0.9 and just accept that. Just accept that it's going to get 1 point. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he is getting on. He is getting subbed on, Stewart at least. So that's the thing. Watkins, where do you stand on him? Is he in your team? I guess not. If you've got
he's in one of them. He's in one of them. Yep. I've got Watkins in one. I've got Palmer in the other. I really like Watkins. It's an easy. He's one of the top. He was like the second top point scorer last season, or third top, or whatever he was. I just think he's really every match, even when he wasn't fully fit. I was watching the highlights on Match of the Day, and it's like chance for Watkins, chance for Watkins, chance for Watkins. Great ball from Watkins. He's so we know how involved he is in everything, but he's carried that on this season. Villa look good in attack. I really like this combination of Duran's got to start somehow. I don't know how he's going to get him in, but the Duran, Rodgers, and Watkins trio, when they were all on the pitch together, that was the difference. Wolves could not live with it. They were so effective at what they did. And then they've got Tielemans. He's got great quality on the ball as well. They can bring on players like Bailey with all the pace. But you just feel like it's just Watkins at the end of everything. And I've got no doubt that a big haul's coming for him at some point. He's going to hit a big haul in maybe even in the next few weeks.
Ipswich United, Fulham, Bournemouth. It's a good 4, isn't it? They score in all those games, and Watkins returns in. I would say,
I'm not
probably
seeing him in too many teams, which is also pushing me towards him a bit. I'm seeing a few Palmers. I'm seeing a lot of Wood and Calvert-Lewin kind of double up top, but I feel like Watkins is getting overlooked a bit. And I like those four games, and then maybe that's when I'd look to move over to someone else. So I'm pretty likely to go with him. I think that's probably the favourite so far, that draft.
Okay, over 2,000 watching. Thank you very much for your support. It's great to have so many of you here on a Thursday at 11 o'clock. So the later you go, the more turn up. It's like there's something about playing FPL that means that people don't have early nights, do they? Probably because they're playing wildcards and, like us, struggling to know where to go. We want to get to our teams, but let's get the predictions out of the way first. First of all, let's look at the standings. And this is crazy because we're absolutely identical. What's going on?
I saw this and I just don't understand what's going on, because we don't see each other's teams. We physically can't see each other's teams. You have to put your scores in first, and then you go on to another page on the website, and then it refreshes both, and then we can see them. I can't see your scores and you can't see mine until we've done ours. So
and we've got 56% correct outcome identical and 12% correct score identical.
I have noticed that a lot of our outcomes have been quite similar lately, but not that similar. It's very weird.
Can't separate this.
We've been doing this too long together. That's what I think it is.
Yeah. Well, anyway, these are our fixtures for this week. Let's go through them pretty quickly because we've been on for a long time. We got super chats to get to as well. Newcastle City away win. You've gone 3. I've gone 2. Both gone 3-1, 2-1 rather. Prediction for Haaland returns.
He'll get one. The Newcastle defense looks poor. He'll get at least one. I'm going for a nice, safe one.
The thing is, I think Newcastle have been poor this season. I think they've managed to win games through effort and Barnes, basically. Barnes has been fantastic when he's come on. And he started at Fulham and scored as well. But they haven't really played well in many of those games. And I'm yet to be convinced by them. I do wonder whether maybe City is what they need. Maybe it'll bring out the best in them, because they're a great side. They've got great players, but something's missing this year. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether there's stuff off field that's getting in the way. I know there was just, talk of trouble between Mitchell and Howe behind the scenes on there, which apparently they've now made up. I do wonder whether we're going to see a better Newcastle performance against City, because it might bring the best out in them. But I've gone 2-1. I've gone 2-1.
It's similar to quite a few teams I'm seeing. Brentford, Southampton. There's mistakes, so many mistakes happening in the back. I mean, look at Bruno misplaced ball, to let Fulham in. Look at Pope literally letting the ball trickle through his arms. We're seeing that at Everton. A lot of these teams, these mistakes, they're not just like one-off. They seem to be creeping into every single game that we're seeing, and they'll get murdered if they play like they did against Fulham, against City. I think City are going to be way too strong for them at the moment.
Both gone 3-0 Arsenal against Leicester. I think I just don't. I mean, Cooper might turn out for low block, and we did. Forest went there and we lost 2-1, and we put on a spirited display last time Cooper went there. But we've also gone there in the Carabao Cup and got absolutely thrashed as well. I think it was. I think it was 5-0 or something. I just don't think Leicester have got enough to go there and put up a performance that doesn't see them get beaten by a decent margin. So I think 3-0 is about right as well.
Yeah, good to see Mavididi in the team. I do like him. Another option at 5-3. Now he's actually starting, but yeah, it's not an easy place to go at the moment, is it?
No. And then Brentford West Ham, we've gone identical as well. We've both gone 2-1. I guess you're thinking Brentford will give a goal away, but probably have too much for West Ham.
That's it. Yeah, I think Lopetegui is in trouble. The fans are turning against him already. The defense looks really weak. They're not scoring goals. Brentford are, high press team. They're going to cause that defense loads of problems. I'd expect them to win that.
Did you just call Lopetegui Lopetegui? Are you determined that it's your turn to mispronounce this week?
I still can't remember what Milinkovic is.
Milinkovic.
Yeah, I'm not having a great day with I can't even say pronunciations.
I've never heard you say Lopetegui like that. That's bizarre.
Lopetegui.
No, I've never even heard that one.
Wasn't Lopetegui like one of the Aristocats or something?
I don't know. I'm totally confused. It's late.
Peter Pettigrew. He was in Harry Potter.
Okay.
That's what I've got him.
Okay. All right. It is Lopetegui though. Yeah. Maybe Pettigrew would get the sack, but I think he's under pressure. He's absolutely under pressure. And I thought West Ham were absolutely woeful against Chelsea. I mean, that first goal, I thought, was the whistle gone? Why aren't they chasing back? It was like they took a quick free kick and Jackson just strolled through, no one getting near him, and just put it.
I was watching the game and I literally leant down, picked up my pint, and I looked up and Jackson was celebrating, and I was like, they've just had a corner.
And the commentator, I think it was Fletch, and he didn't clock on that Jackson was through on goal, and he just went, "Oh, it's a goal." It was like he even took the commentator by surprise. And it was just one of the most bizarre goals I've ever seen from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah,
and it's because like they had Ederson Alvarez playing at the back, dropping back into a 3, and they were playing a back 5, and Alvarez was just so slow. It was like he was treading. He was getting nowhere near him, and it was just really odd. And then Jackson just strolled through for a second goal, didn't he? And it was
they parted like the bloody Red Sea.
Yeah.
Just, literally, the centre-backs party. Casado just went straight down the middle. The easiest assist he'll ever get in his life.
I had Lopetegui. I refuse to say Lopetegui. I had Lopetegui down as a defensive manager, and yet I don't know what's going on there. He's got Kilman. He's got his player back there. So I just don't know what his system is.
Slow as well, though, aren't they? That back line isn't exactly blessed with pace.
No. Yeah. Okay,
they push up, then they get caught out. Same as Brighton do.
Let's get to the first different outcome, and no surprise, it's Chelsea Brighton. You've gone for a point for Brighton. I've just gone 2-0. I'll tell you why I've gone 2-0. I think you'll get caught out of the back, and quite honestly, apart from Matoma, I don't know where your creativity is. Because João Pedro, Herzler's come out and said he's the player who can do that X factor, something special. Matoma was brilliant against Forest, undoubtedly. Very good player. But he plays out wide, and you can defend against that easier than you can play against someone number 10. You haven't got a number 10. I mean, I just think Ruta was disappointing.
Yeah.
And at no point did I think, until the ball went to Matoma, I didn't think we were in trouble. I just thought you're passing it around nicely, but you're not cutting through us. And your best route to goal is give it to Matoma and hope he can beat a man, which he did on some occasions, and he won the free kick that Welbeck scored. But until Matoma got the ball, I didn't think you had a way through. And I think Chelsea will close that down. And without João Pedro, I just don't see you scoring. So I've gone 2-0. Chris won't like it. But Chris was wrong on Sunday. He was going for a Brighton win. So there you go. He was.
I will be absolutely amazed if Chelsea keep a clean sheet.
Okay.
I will be absolutely amazed. It's just, I'm sure we're going to score against them. Matoma and Minte are going to cause those fullbacks. They're going to turn them inside out time and time again. I know you mentioned about not having a number 10, but we're going to Cucurella against Minte. Who's at right back for? Is it Disasi? Is it Cole? Disasi came on, didn't he?
Yeah, they played different players there. They played Fofana there, didn't they, against Bournemouth? Which didn't
because they had Fofana, Tosin, and Colwill all playing, didn't they?
So they've been alternating the right back. So I really, it was Disasi, then it was Fofana. I don't know what they're going to do.
It's a problematic area against our strongest player.
Yeah.
I think we score. I can't give Chelsea a win against Brighton. It's just never going to happen.
You might be right. I mean, Matoma's the threat. I think, and he's not in many wild cards, but I think he could. If they're going to score, it'll be through him. I think either be the source or the scorer. Everton Palace both gone 2-1, so we're agreeing on that as well. It is uncanny because we don't see each other's scores, but I do think Palace beat them. I do. I just I think that. I mean, Eze's got to produce at some point. I am selling him on the wild card, but I do fear it because I think that he's getting chances. But I think, Eze, Nketiah, Arteta, they're going to have too much for them, I think.
Yeah. Do you see that stat that Nketiah hasn't scored since January or something, or a year or something ridiculous? He hasn't scored in a very long time. Okay, he hasn't really been playing, but it's still a long time. I still think that front three has got big potential. Eze, Nketiah, and Mateta. They obviously want to get Nketiah a goal. He did score in the cup. He hasn't scored in the league for a while. Good time to be playing Everton. Our back Palace.
Yeah. Forest Fulham. You've gone 1-1. I'm going to go 1-0. I think that we nick it. I think that we can keep them out. I don't think without Gibbs White we're going to score many goals, but I do think we'll get one. And I think defensively, if we handle Traore, we'll have enough, because I think that I don't fear Jimenez. I don't think they've got huge amount of creativity in the time. I mean, Iwobi's a decent player, but I think we out wide our fullbacks are good, unless Oliveira is injured. But even then, Nico and Moreno, I think we're okay. So I think we'll keep them out and we'll win 1-0. But you've gone 1-1, which will probably be a very popular opinion on that game. That could be a very early outcome.
I think two match sides. I think it's same with Brighton. I think Brighton, Forest, Fulham, all quite similar. All going to be in and around 9, 8 at best.
I will absolutely take that.
9, 4, 10. I think they're decent sides. So I've just gone for a honours even.
Not many goals, like I said. So if you're getting Chris Wood, the most you're going to get, I think, is one return. Wolves, Liverpool. You've gone 3-1 to Liverpool. I've gone 4-1. I think. Why am I selling Salah? Why am I selling Salah when I think 4-1? I really do. I think they're gonna cane them, because they've got Diaz rested, Salah rested. Wolves,
he could get 3, and it wouldn't surprise me. I think if you haven't wildcarded yet and you've got Salah captain, I don't know that. Even with everything Haaland's doing, Salah against Wolves, I think, is just as good, if not slightly better, as Haaland away
I think
Newcastle.
It is. I think it is. And maybe I've got to look at a wild card with them both, but it really hurts when you try and do that. That's the thing.
I mean, is Diaz a captain? We're going to talk about captains in a bit, but is Diaz a captain option?
No, because of the X-Mins. Yeah, this is it. If he doesn't return and it's 60 minutes, he's coming off, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I think the chances of that are pretty low. I think Liverpool will get early goals. I can't see Wolves keeping them out, and I guess Wolves could go on the front foot and it could be a lot of goals in the game. I just don't think they've got enough defensively to play cagey like Forest did at Anfield. They can't low block and catch them. They've got a decent attack, Wolves. They've got threat on the break, but I don't think they can sit deep. I just don't think they've got the players to do it, unless Dawson has a blinder. But he's going to have, isn't he?
He's old Ballon Dawson. He's got it in him.
Yeah, exactly. You never know. Ipswich Villa. This is my choice for the Garden Centre game. 2:00 Sunday. That's prime time. And I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I think Ipswich will get a point. I think, I like the Villa attack, but I think Ipswich are no mugs at home. And they are my favoured promoted team. And I think, I think about Forest, and, we managed to turn Villa over last season at home, and Ipswich will look at Villa at home and think they're a great side. They could be a top 6 side, but we could get a point. And I think they might get it. I think they might get a point. You've gone 3-1.
Yeah, I just think Villa have got too much in attack for Ipswich. Okay, Ipswich are at home, and I think they've only had 2 home games so far this season, and the crowd will be up for it. But Yeah, it's attack versus defense. I think they get one. I think we'll be able to score a few more than them.
And then we've got United Spurs. You've gone 2-1 United.
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
I don't really know why, and this will surprise people who always say that I'm hating on Man U. Spurs are very good at going forward, but Man U have looked pretty good in defence. And I think United will start scoring a few more goals because they're creating so many chances. And I worry about Spurs at the back. So if Man U can keep it tight and actually convert some of their chances, I think they could come away with this with a win. And the fact they're at home, Spurs have been a bit ropey with some of the results they've had, and I have not been impressed with Vicario whatsoever this season. So
yeah, I think Spurs concede for sure. I just think that Spurs clicked against Brentford. They won tonight but didn't play well, but then they had 10 men, so I don't know how much you can judge that. There's a lot. I've seen a lot of criticism already of Spurs tonight. They've got to play better, etc. But I think they got a lot in attack. And I watched United last night, and they did look vulnerable at times. I mean, they conceded and they were in trouble at one point defensively. I don't know. I fancy Spurs now. I really do. I think they've got goals in them every game, and I don't think United have got enough to win the game. So I've gone Spurs. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I mentioned him earlier, and I said he might be one for a few weeks away. But if you are moving early on De Ligt, I'll definitely play him in this game because he's gonna have a chance. He's gonna have a chance or two against that, the way they defend set pieces.
Possibly, yeah. And then Bournemouth Southampton. It's the Monday night game, so you can't get to a Garden Centre at 8:00. But if you could, that probably is the other fixture to look at. We've both gone 3-0 Bournemouth.
Can't miss Semenyo's hat trick.
It could well be. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to captains.
Hang on. You have missed the sponsor.
Oh, yes. Let's get to it. Sorry, I do apologise. There we go.
I thought you were leading into it, and we're going to do a great segue, and no, you just forgot.
Yeah, talking predictions. Let's talk about Pick'em.
Yeah, well, if you enjoy listening to the predictions, and it is a segment that we've debated losing in previous years because it goes on for a bit, but public voices have always been that they enjoy it. If you've always wanted a way of playing along, well, there's two ways you can do it. You can join the BlackBox Patreon and join the league and get into the prediction standing, or if you want to win some great prizes, join the Sleeper BlackBox Pick'em League. There's a QR code on the screen. Give it a zap. Have a go this week. This is the last game week of September, and then there'll be monthly prizes going forward. So work out how it works. Get into October. Try and win the October prize. The winner of August won a PS5, for example. Monthly prize up to the value of about £500. Completely free to play. No gambling on the app at all whatsoever. No even way of depositing any money or anything like that. So don't worry about anything to do with that. Scan the QR code. You just predict the outcomes of the matches. So not results, just outcomes, and you can win some great prizes.
Yeah, I mean the PS5, what a great prize to win, and we're giving that or the equivalent away every month in this, aren't we? So it's great.
Yep.
And also, I'm enjoying the sleeper draft. We beat Slippers at the weekend, which was absolutely sweet. And I look at our squad in our draft game, and I really like it now. You were kind of cursing some of our choices on the day on the draft league, but I think now with Rice back and Leon Bailey back, and we got Calafiori in there, and we got Raya, who's not played for us yet and may not this weekend, but that doesn't matter because we've got Anana. So we've got a good squad in that. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the draft experience again, which has been
what I do really like about the draft is, and this isn't just for Sleeper. This is a potential thing that they're never going to bring into FPL. But seeing Jota not starting ruined or potentially ruined my afternoon. And if I hadn't had Smith Rowe coming on, I was genuinely in a foul mood, and it's pathetic. And there'll be people listening to it who think it's pathetic, but there'll also be people listening to it who can relate to it. And the good thing about Sleeper, and the good thing about the draft, and the good thing about other FPL games is that, we had, like Kadioglu, for example, we had in the starting lineup. We saw he wasn't playing. We could switch him out to another player playing at the same time. I love that. I know it's not going to be brought into FPL. I know there's people in different time zones. People like Luke, for example, who are working, and not able to check their phones. I completely get why, but from an enjoyment perspective of the game, making sure you have 11 players that can play each week is much better than having a player on the bench who you just with Jota, it's like if he comes on for 1 minute, I'm watching the last 10 minutes waiting for him to come on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, much rather.
I mean, maybe FPL should introduce a rule where you can set it where your auto sub comes on if a player doesn't start.
Great. Why not? How good would that be for engagement?
And then that way,
great.
You haven't got to worry then if the player comes on because you've set it to be subbed if a player doesn't start.
And
that could be done. Why don't they do that? That's crazy.
And you could choose not to have it. So say you've got Duran. Say you've got Duran, for example. You think he's going to come off the bench and score again. You don't have that toggle selected.
Yeah.
And then
auto sub if no start. That'll be the option. There you go.
Auto sub no start. Love that.
I was actually thinking as well. Talking of FPL and talking of captains, there's a lot of talk about we've got to get Haaland because of the captaincy, and that is the fact. I mean, I think even if you can compete with Haaland for points, and I think there's an argument to say you can build a side to compete against a Haaland team. The thing that is difficult is the captaincy, and I think I've shown that in that I've got the captaincy wrong a couple of times. Yeah, I've had a bit of bad luck with sendings off, but it's the captaincy that's killed me because my captain score is really poor. I don't know. Is the good table got the captain score on there? No, it hasn't. Not this week. But yeah, my captain score is really poor this season, and so I look at it and go, well, am I going to keep giving myself that dilemma about who am I going to captain and get it wrong, or should I just get Haaland and captain him every week? Of course, eventually I've got to give in and go, right, there's loads of managers around me who just don't have this problem. They just captain Haaland every week, so I might as well get them. I've got to get on that. How do we fix that? How we fix it is you have vice captains, right? We have vice captains now. What they should do is they should say, your vice captain becomes the player that gets double points if the vice captain outscores the captain. And then that way you can go without Haaland and you have you've got basically 2 chances of getting your captain there, because if you could go Son and Saka last week, for example, and the top scorer is always going to be the one that gets double points. Whereas if you've got Haaland, that vice captain thing becomes less of a thing because obviously Haaland's probably going to be your top point scorer out of the 2 players mostly. But I think if the vice captain was your captain, if they outscored your designated captain, people would be braver and go against Haaland, or would be more likely to, because the captaincy thing wouldn't be so much of a factor. It'd still be a factor because you don't have Haaland as one of your 2 options. But just having 2 players you could captain and think, I'm going to get the top scorer out of those 2 would be, I think, more attractive and make it more likely. What do you think to that?
Full of ideas tonight, aren't you, Mark? I mean, you could go the other way. You could not captain Haaland and you could captain Saka and Palmer, and then you've got 2 options against Haaland, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
you're
more likely to go against. I would be more likely to not have Haaland in my team if I knew every week I could captain Saka and Salah, and I'd always get the top score out of those 2. Whereas if I had Haaland in my team, that mechanic feels less impactful because most of the time Haaland's going to get a return, and most of the time you'd back Haaland to outscore one of the other options. Plus, of course, my vice captain will be a lesser player because I've spent more money on Haaland. So it's almost like saying, well, you don't have Haaland, but what you do have is 2 heavy hitters as your captain and vice captain. And in any given week, you'd expect, if you had Saka and Palmer, for example, you'd expect one of them would get a return, won't they? In most weeks, they're not both going to black. So suddenly the captaincy becomes less of a thing that makes you think I've got to get Haaland. I think that'd be a decent, because the vice captain is useless at the moment.
What if you just gave the vice captain 1.5 times?
Yeah, you could, but then it's a harder thing to explain, I think, where it's very easy to say you have a captain and a vice captain, and the top point scorer out of those 2 is the one that's doubled. That's an easier thing to explain. And I just think it's an easy change to make that would just mean that Haaland is less dominant. So I'd like to see what people think to that anyway. But, yeah.
I don't know if I like it, but maybe that's just because I've captained Haaland every week and done quite well.
it gives a bit more strategy, even to people who have Haaland. They might go, well, yeah, I guess it means the captaincy is there. I guess there's more luck involved.
You could chuck the vice captain on like a centre back, couldn't you? You could chuck it on like Gabriel, because if he gets a bullet header and gets 15 points, then
you could have a bit of fun with it, couldn't you? That's the other thing. You could go, well, I'm going to have Haaland, and then my vice captain every week is going to be a real maverick pick that might come in, and that makes it fun, right? So I think it's an easy change that would in the Haaland era, it would improve the game. Now, when Haaland's not about, it's not so much of a problem. But I think it is a problem at the moment because he's just ridiculous, isn't he? Where are you going then? You're going to have Haaland captain if you wildcard, right? Is that what you're saying? Because you've got to have Haaland.
Or just really quickly, or you just drop captaincy altogether.
Oh, yeah. I think that's less points and they wouldn't want to do that.
Oh, they're not going to want to do any of your ideas, but
yeah, but I don't think that vice captain thing's a hard thing to implement, a hard thing to explain, and it's not going to meet. It's going to lead to more points because you're always getting the top scoring player as your captain. So I think it's
you are really dividing the chat with that one. There's some real, people are calling you soft, utter woke nonsense. I saw.
Woke? Why is that woke? It's not a political issue, is it?
Everything's woke, Mark. Have you not heard?
Oh, okay.
Everything bad is woke these days. Few people saying they like the 1.5 times. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Something about the captain, the vice. I don't know. It's all right. I don't think they'll do it. Who am I captaining? Haaland. Sorry.
And if you're not going Haaland, it's Salah, right?
Yeah.
Or is it Saka? Are you looking at Saka at home to Leicester? Let's decide that. Saka at home to Leicester or Haaland or Salah at Wolves. Where would you go?
Salah.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Again, there's not really a lot of. It's just my instinct, I just feel like Salah is more capable of getting a really big haul compared to Saka. I mean, if you're going against Haaland, you need a player who's going to hit something really big. Because if you're going against Haaland, you're not just backing Haaland to not do well. You've also got the player that you get into to, if the floor is 8 or 9 points, too often we see Saka getting around that, whereas Salah's capable of getting the hat trick. So I'd go for him.
The spread betting suggests that Arsenal are going to be the top scorers this week. This is courtesy of at Rob T FBL. Excellent account to follow because he comes up with lots of graphics like this one, and we loved this one. Spread betting markets are projecting 2.7 goals for Arsenal against Leicester, 2.45 for Liverpool at Wolves, and then City only 2.15 at Newcastle. So interestingly, although we're saying Haaland if you got him, the spread betting market suggests that Arsenal and Liverpool outscore City, and that I can see that.
Yeah.
The trouble is Haaland's so dominant as a source of points and goals for City, isn't he?
That's the difference. That's the difference between Haaland and any of the other options. Is that we, even when we're talking about Son, we're talking about Johnson, we're talking about Maddison, we're talking about Arsenal. We're talking about Saka as the main one, but you still got Havertz there, you still got Martinelli. Until Foden becomes a factor of us again, it's just all about Haaland.
And this is what's scary. This is the captain matrix, and I look at, even if you say, okay, Newcastle away, you could definitely look at Salah at Wolves. You can definitely look at Saka. You can look at Watkins at Ipswich. You could look at Palmer at home to Brighton. All of those are decent captain's options this week. But then you look at the run that Haaland's got: Fulham, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, and even Brighton away. There are options in those weeks, but he has a run where. Yeah, it's just Haaland so dominant, and it's a problem. I just don't think I can get to game week 7 without him because of that run. And who would you captain in game week 8, for example? Are we going to have Son at home to West Ham? We're not. No. And you could go Watkins at Fulham, but
no,
you're not going to go Palmer at Liverpool or Saka at Bournemouth. Salah at home to Chelsea is the best you can do. So it's like that's really difficult.
No chance. You can't. Surely, even the most avid Andy Martin, no Haaland's person can't be going in 8 and 9 without Haaland. It's just it's just suicide.
This is my point. The thing that's driving us to Haaland is the captaincy. Yes, Haaland's going to be the top point scorer. When I didn't go Haaland at the start of the season, I knew that. I knew that Haaland's going to score the most points. But what you think is, well, I can compensate for that by spreading funds across my team.
Yeah.
What you can't do is overcome a dominant captain. And Haaland, over the first 5 weeks, has been a dominant captain. He's returned in every game and he's outscored every other player. And then ahead of him is a run where he looks like he's going to be the dominant captain still. So it's the captaincy that drives us to Haaland, unfortunately. And I don't think you can fight that. Much as I want to, I don't think I can.
Good suggestion from Alex Smith I just put up, which is another idea for the captaincy. You can't captain the same player twice in a row. That would add some really nice strategy.
It's hard and hard to explain, isn't it? Like to the to the casual player who doesn't want to think too much, do you want that? Do you want?
I guess it's not that hard to implement though, because it would just go to the vice.
What? So in a game, if you did captain the same player twice,
if you left everything the same, Haaland captain, Salah vice, it would then just move over to the vice captain.
I think, I mean, the fact that, like I say, the captaincy mechanic is at the moment making it almost impossible to go without Haaland, I would say. Not yet, but certainly by game week 7, I just don't see it. I think even people who wildcard without him are going to move to him soon. I just
Fulham, Wolves, Southampton for arguably the most prolific striker we've ever had in the Premier League, playing in the top of his game for the best attacking side in the league.
Unless you're absolutely backing yourself to move the captaincy and get it right. And you could do that. I've failed to do it. And it's not easy to do, because getting that player who scores the most points out of your captain options, whether you've got Palmer, Saka, Salah, is not easy. And you might say, well, it's Salah. Yeah, but Salah's got Wolves away, which is great. Palace away. Yeah, he's got a hat-trick there before, so maybe he can again. Chelsea at home, Arsenal away. I don't know. I mean, I don't think Chelsea at home and Arsenal away, they are necessarily good fixtures for Liverpool. Certainly not Arsenal away.
No.
So this
is the thing, and like I said earlier, it's we haven't even done. This is going to be the longest stream we've ever done, but I haven't covered the wildcard team. It's probably why a lot of people are here.
Exactly.
But I was always going to sell Salah if I wildcarded in 7, because Palace away, Chelsea, Arsenal isn't a great run. I've basically been forced into doing it a week early. I don't feel too great about it, but it does make me feel a bit better. That I think even if I had Salah and I captained him this week and he scored a hat-trick, I think I'd still be getting rid of him next week if I was wildcarding.
If that's the only way to Haaland,
or even without him, even with Haaland, I just think you can do more with the money. With Salah, it's too restrictive having both.
Okay, fair enough. And obviously Saka's the thing. Let's have a look at your card then. This is one of the 2 teams that you've put in. I'll try and get the other one in while you're talking through it.
Oh, thank you. This is basically what I put together Saturday night, and it hasn't changed. And this is what it essentially currently is. Although I've got Jackson instead of Watkins, because I might be able to claim a cheeky little 0.1 on that if he gets that double rise. But this is Raya in goal, obviously with the injury. It's Trent, Gabriel, and Lewis. It's Diaz, Rogers, Saka, Semenyo, and Mbeumo, and then Haaland and Watkins up top with Ndai, who have been going on about, Vandenberg and Greaves. It's very template. It's what I've been seeing. But again, I put this team together Saturday night. I looked at price rises. I looked at who I wanted. I put this team in, and it's turned out to be the template because they're all good, sensible picks. The only really interesting one in there is Watkins, who I'm not really seeing too much. But yeah, it's not too bad. The other option is I do Ndai down, kill off that spot to a Stewart. I do Greaves up to Davis and Vandenberg. Potentially up to Collins. That gives me 2 better options on the bench, but then one kind of dead spot. But yeah, if Ray is fit, then it will more than likely be this.
I can't find the other team. I don't know where it is. You don't know what you called it, so can't do it.
It's next to the other one. It's called as Team 2. It should be literally right next to the other graphic.
Yeah, but that's not the naming convention for the teams. The naming convention is Team Graphics. I just can't find it.
Yes, it's their Team Graphic as new 2. It's next to it.
Okay. No matter. I can't do it. What are the changes then? What are the changes in that team though?
The only other change, so if Ray is out or if he's still a doubt, it will be Raya to Flecken, and then potentially Diaz to Palmer and Watkins to Havertz.
I prefer that, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like Vandenberg and Greaves, because Vandenberg, I don't think is going to play in a 4. I don't think that is absolutely certain by any means. So yeah, I think you need to upgrade one of Vandenberg and Greaves myself.
Yeah. So what I quite like is doing Ndai to Stewart and then Greaves to Davis. I quite like the idea of Leaf Davis. Like, the fact he's on corners, he's had a couple of opportunities as well. Yeah, I don't mind doing that. I wouldn't be able to do that because Palmer is so pricey at 10.6. I'm basically locked into a bench of Vandenberg, Greaves, and Stewart which is not ideal. I think it's probably going to look more like this team on the screen with a couple of changes.
I can get your other team in, so I'm just going to try and do that now. I've lost it again though. Oh yeah, there it is. Right, let's try and do that now. All right, there we go. There's your other team.
Oh, well done. Yep. Yeah, so it's not much different. It's this basically the same bench, but Ndye's out for Stewart, and then it's Palmer and Havertz in, and Flecken. But there's no real, like you say, Van der Berg's not playing, and I've got Stewart as a dead option. My only bench option here is Greaves, and then we've got Lewis as a problem. I mean, the only thing is, unless there is an injury, the 11 is locked. Like, there's no way any of that 11 are not going to play unless there's like a last minute injury, and I've got transfers to deal with that.
You said you were worried about Lewis and that you're relying on him as one of your 11 now. So what are you thinking?
Well, yeah, I said other than Lewis, the rest of them is fine. But I mean, if Greaves comes in, it's not the end of the world. And I'd have a transfer to deal with it. But yeah, this one feels a bit more restricted. Palmer is quite restrictive because he's a lot of money.
You haven't got Diaz. You've got no Liverpool attack.
Yeah, so it's Palmer over Diaz, which I think is maybe a 50-50 decision anyway, and a lot more money invested in Palmer. So
I don't think it's a 50-50 decision over the season, but it probably is for this week because
for this, I think it is in the kind of shortish term.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think that. I think you've got to have some Liverpool cover. I mean, I guess Trent gives you that, but I think it's difficult not to have anything at Wolves because, like we said, we both predicted plenty of goals for them there. Should we go through some of my teams?
I like the Watkins option as well because, like I said, I don't think he's too popular.
So this is my template one, like yours: Raya in goal, Lewis, Trent, Gabriel, Saka, Semenyo, Mbeumo, Diaz, Haaland captain, Solanke and Wood.
Yeah,
Rodgers, Davis, and Face on the bench. So
that's the template. That's pretty much the template 11, isn't it?
I don't like not playing Rodgers though out of this team. That's the thing. So it's like, do I play Wood or do I play Rodgers? It's a bit of a dilemma there. But that, I would say I'm 50% chance of going with this, but it is so template. It's against all my morals to do that.
Yeah, that is literally the only player who's not template there is arguably Davis and Face.
Maybe Solanke. I've seen people go, obviously, Watkins or Jackson. But okay, and then I've got this, which is the Salah option. Raya, Lewis, Trent, Gabriel, Saka and Bruno, Salah, Diaz, Watkins, Solanke and Wood. And then Rodgers, Greaves and Face on the bench. And the thing here is that then into game week 7, I do have 2 transfers because I rolled last week. So going into 7, I could then go Salah to Semenyo, Watkins to Haaland.
Okay.
So I could take Salah into Wolves and captain him and hope that Salah outperforms Haaland and that Watkins outperforms whoever I would get him, Semenyo. So Watkins would have to outscore Semenyo and Salah would have to outscore Haaland. And then I'd have to use my 2 transfers to move to Haaland for 7.
I think that's a hard one to call. If you were to get me to pick Semenyo and Haaland or Watkins and Salah, that's quite a close battle, I think. And then if you add in the fact you'd have 2 transfers with the other one.
Yeah, because I've put Bournemouth to win 3-0.
Yeah.
I think they will win.
I don't think it's worth it.
I would say Salah and Watkins are the better players, better options. But I do think Bournemouth will win that game quite comfortably, unfortunately. Yeah. So then there's another option. So this is the first team without Raya. And this stays with that same format of not having Haaland. So Flecken, Lewis, Trent, Gabriel, Palmer and Bruno, Salah, Diaz, Rodgers, Watkins, Havertz.
That's nice. And that's no Saka. No Saka.
No Saka. But I've got Havertz.
And Salah, captain. I can't believe you're going to wildcard and not go for Haaland. It just seems crazy to me.
Yeah, it does. It does to me as well. But then with the 2 transfers, I can get to him quickly. As long as I've got Salah and Watkins, it's done in 2 moves.
But you're not going to have Saka for the 2 priority teams. Nah.
No, but you get Havertz instead.
Don't like this one.
Okay. And then the last one. This is probably what I'm going to go with.
Okay.
Flecken, Lewis, Trent, Gabriel, Saka, Johnson, Mbeumo, Diaz, Rogers, Haaland and Solanke, with Porro back in the team, so that I've got Porro, Solanke and Johnson for Spurs' run when it comes in a couple of game weeks' time. It's heavy on Spurs, but I don't mind that because their fixtures are very strong once they get the 2 away games out of the way. It gets me Haaland in there. It gets me Brennan as a differential, and I think that he plays at United. He scored again tonight. He might only be short term, but I can go Johnson to Semenyo really easily. I think he's a good option because they go to United and then they go to Brighton. I think Johnson will do well. He's in the team, and the thing is, Son got an injury tonight, so I want to see what happens there. If Son's out, then going too heavy on Spurs might be a bad idea, but I don't think it will be. So this is probably what I'm going to go with, because what it gets me is I'm going Haaland, but I've got a bit of fun in there in the shape of Johnson and Solanke, and I've got Porro up my sleeve for when Spurs fixtures really turn. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar to the first one he showed, isn't it? It's just Johnson over Semenyo and Flecken in for Raya, really. And then then you've got the Porro option to come in a bit later on.
The only thing is, it's Diaz and Johnson are both ex-Min's problems. That's the thing. They're both going to go off on 60, 70 minutes.
I'd rather have Semenyo than Johnson for the next 2. And I'd rather have Raya if he's fit over Flecken. And I'm not sure about Porro. So I think I prefer the first one.
It's so template, though.
But it's so boring. I know. The thing is, though, there's a comment in the chat from V Buckley, who I know watches a lot of these streams, saying all the content creators, picking the same. I see the influencer content creators have all picked the same team again. I mean, look at if you go back to the first team, the ultra template one. I mean, is it any surprise that people are picking these players? I mean, Wood is. I mean, bringing Rogers for Wood. I mean, there's just so much value in some of these players, in Semenyo, in Mbeumo, in Rogers, and Diaz over Salah because of the way he started. The back picks itself really because Ray has been so good with Trent, with Gabriel. The difficulty is that a content creator goes against someone. It's like they put in Saliba instead of Gabriel, or they put in Robertson over Trent, or they back something else, and we haven't got the data or the evidence at this stage to suggest that anyone else is going to outscore these players. I think all of these players are just such good picks based on what we've seen so far. I don't think it's an influencer or content creator thing. I think anyone with half a brain of FPL will put together a team with 12 or 13 of these players in it.
Yeah,
how it is at the moment.
It's because it's the Haaland thing. Right? The minute that you have to move to Haaland because of the captaincy, it starts to drop all the small stones around that rather big rock, doesn't it? Because you can't have Salah as well without really hurting the team elsewhere. And so if you're taking Salah out, then you're going to have Saka for the fixtures and Mbeumo because of the fixtures. If you're not having Salah, you're looking at Diaz to cover Liverpool. Semenyo for the 2 fixtures, but then you move off him after game week 2. And then, like you said, the defence picks itself. I mean, you could go without Trent. I think that's, what would the million do for you, though? What would the downgrade to Saliba or Robertson do for you?
Yeah,
I don't want to go without Trent, though.
I mean, as people were saying about Wood, and people wouldn't be picking Wood in influence pick. I agree with that. I'm not massively sold on Wood. I'm not massively sold on.
No, but you can go Calvert-Lewin there, but
you can go against it. I mean, you can't argue as to why people are picking him though. He's scored loads of points. He's 6 million. He's playing for a Forest team
he's on penalties.
On penalties, he's got good fixtures. Like it's not like he's a rubbish pick that all influencers are selling because we've all got this big conspiracy to sell you crap players. Right? Yeah, and it's an easy move for people to move from a 5-6 to a 6-1. There's reasoning behind all the picks that you see on these streams. That's the thing that kind of gets me with this. I'm not a fan of Wood or Calvert-Lewin, and so I won't be going there. I'll be going for a Havertz or a Watkins in that spot and hoping that they can deliver. But it means I've obviously got to downgrade kind of elsewhere.
Yeah. It's with heavy heart that I end up with a template team. I don't want to.
No,
I absolutely don't want to. But I've tried going against it and got punished. And it's like, well, how long can I go without Haaland with the captaincy? I just don't think I can go much more than one more week. And I've got to decide tonight, I think, because Semenyo is going to go up tonight. So if I'm going to move Salah out to Semenyo, I've either got to lose 0-1, which I could do, or do it tonight, and then I'm committed. It's Salah will be gone, and obviously I'm not going to change my mind and get him back in. Well, I could do. I guess it's not committed, but it'd be silly to lose 0-1. So I've got to make a decision, and I don't know if I'm going to wildcard without Haaland and book 2 transfers in.
Lewis is a pick who, okay, I feel like I have been sold on, and I will be blaming content creators, especially you, for selling me that dream of a 4-7 starting City defender. So I'll give people that one, but there is, again, there's reasoning behind why that is, and if you get him in and he does well, then you should be thanking people like Mark for selling him, because you probably wouldn't have considered him otherwise. But yeah, I can. Yeah, he's probably the only other one we haven't mentioned today is Savinho. I've seen Gianni talking about him.
Yeah,
for example,
possibly
a 6-5 as a mid. Looks like he's got that starting spot on the right nailed down. He's a fun one to go for.
In for who? In for Diaz? I mean, that would
have to be for Diaz, wouldn't it? It'd have to be for Diaz. And are you really going to risk that, given the way he's been playing? So,
well, he could be the downgrade. He could be the option to move to.
Yeah,
I just think you've got to have a Liverpool attacker at Wolves. I just can't. I just don't think it's bad enough going without Salah, but for going all Liverpool attackers, I just think it's very tough to do that when Diaz starts, and he does. So if there was doubt about his start, I wouldn't necessarily do it, but I don't think there is. I think he gets the start. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna probably finalise my wildcard tomorrow night, and I'm probably going to be up past this hour on Friday deciding what to do. I don't want to go template. I want to try and find a route that doesn't feel that like it's a template wildcard, but I think that's going to be difficult to do unless I decide to go Palmer over Saka and go Havertz up top. I'll look at that as well. There are options there, but even departure from the template is not going to be vast. It's not going to be huge. It's going to be 1 or 2 players, which doesn't feel great. But yeah,
I'm afraid it's not always going to make for the most interesting content this season. But my strategy, I've just got to have a good season this year, and I'm really trying to watch more highlights, watch more games, look at the stats, and build teams that I think are the best, the optimal ones based on all that information. So I'm in previous seasons I've avoided players because too many people I see on Twitter and YouTube have got them. I'm just really trying not to play like that this way. And I respect you for wanting to go against things and not starting with Haaland and trying things different. I tried that last year, it didn't work for me, so it's kind of burnt me for a bit. And yeah, I'm just trying to play a bit more, get back to my normal game, which is actually doing my research and trying to pick who I think are the best squad.
Yeah. Anyway, not set in stone yet. A lot could change. Maybe we'll get some T news tomorrow. Much depends on what we hear about Raya, because that Fleck and money could mean I get a bit more flexibility. But we'll see. I don't like not being excited about my team, and picking a template
there is that.
Not exciting, and I don't want that. This is why when people say, "Oh, you're just being different for the sake of it, you're trying to be clever," I'm not trying to be clever. I'm trying to get some fun out of playing the game, and that's why we're playing it. We're not playing it to win it, because I'm realistic. We're not winning it, right? So it's very, very tough.
Again, and this is something we say every year. But the trouble with trying to play too differently against other people is, Slanky's 8% owned in the game. Semenyo's 8% owned in the game. And Mbumo's 16% owned. These aren't 40-50% owned players. No, and when you think about combinations of them,
it's a bubble we see, isn't it?
Is the bubble. And you think about that template 5 that we've talked about, how many out of the 10 million players who play the game are going to have that 5? It could only be 100,000, could even be less than that. So even though it feels like it's really boring and rigid, once those points, if those deliver and the points start coming and your ranks rising, you're suddenly not going to be too worried about trying to be different. So yeah, I think particularly at the moment, there's a strong template for a reason, because the fixtures and the form of players have lent to it. It might all change in a couple of weeks, and I hope it does.
We've done 2.5 hours. It's nearly midnight. We've got 9 super chats to get through. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Andrew G, first of all. Salah, Robinson and Verbruggen to Saka, Gabriel and Raya for a hit, or Trent and Verbruggen to Gabriel and Raya for free. Wildcard already gone. Cheers, chat. Okay. Thank you, Andrew, for your super chat. Salah, Robinson and Verbruggen to Saka, Gabriel and Raya for a hit, or no, I wouldn't get rid of Salah. I think Salah can outscore Saka this week. So I would do Trent and Verbruggen to Gabriel and Raya for free. if you really need to get rid of Trent. Why does he want to get rid of Trent? And obviously Raya, we got to wait on the team news anyway.
Oh my god!
But I wouldn't be selling Salah.
I would be selling Trent.
But Gabriel's getting 2 clean sheets over Leicester Southampton, so you're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna feel it short term. I can see the sense in that, but I don't like the first move, Salah, Robinson, Verbruggen to Saka, Gabriel, Raya for a hit.
No, not
because I think Salah alone could damage that. If you've got Salah and you're not on a wild card, I think you save him for this week. So if you really need to move to a double Arsenal defence, I guess, Andrew, you want to, then it's a Trent and Verbruggen option. I guess he's got to get rid of Trent to afford the Verbruggen to Raya move, but you don't have to do that if we get the team news tomorrow, which might mean that the dilemma's not a dilemma at all. But I wouldn't do the first option, Andrew. I hope that helps anyway. Nigel the Crab. Hello, Nigel. Thanks for being with us again and for all your support as always. Member for 13 months. Incredible. Simon's been a big supporter of this channel. We thank him for all of that and everything he does. Thoughts on double Chelsea defence? I'm keen. Then again, I just took a -12. I think they'll get a clean sheet against Brighton. You don't.
No way.
I guess it's Sanchez and one other. I think Sanchez is a good option. I think, like, if you got that little bit extra and you don't want to go Flecken, Sanchez I like, but I wouldn't double on Chelsea's defence.
I wouldn't even get one. Don't trust him.
Emre Kappa, thank you very much for your super chat. Rogers, Smith Rowe, Semenyo, which 2 would you pick for the wild card if money wasn't a factor? I feel Smith Rowe is the best fixtures from 6 to 12. No, Rogers and Semenyo. Let's have a look at those fixtures from 6 to 12.
See, I don't like Smith Rowe's fixtures for 3. They're good from 9 to 11, 9 to 12 actually.
Yeah, I mean Forest and City. Fulham could not score in both those games. So, and then Semenyo has got brilliant short term, Southampton and Leicester. So for me, it is Rodgers and Semenyo in the short term. I don't think Rodgers is a sell at all. You got to keep him, haven't you, all season?
You can't get rid of Rodgers. Not with the impact he's having at 5 million for a really, really good Villa side. He's probably arguably their best player this season. His influence is outstanding, and yeah, I really like Semenyo for the next 2. If you want to go for Smith Rowe over Semenyo, I wouldn't blame you because I think that's a longer potential move, and he has been playing really well. But if you're on a wild card, I think you pick Semenyo, leave a couple of $1 million in the bank, and then move to Smith Rowe in a few weeks.
Absolutely. Jordan Allard, we've talked about this tonight. Wood or DCL? I think Wood.
I think Wood.
We're not doing another joke. Thank you.
I've got to run out now.
Kelzang, thank you very much for your super chat. No Haaland and ruin my 5 game weeks. Wildcard him now. Double game. Yeah.
It's depressing. $2.99 to spend setting that in.
I'm totally with you, Kelzang. I don't like it. I don't want to do it, but I just don't think you got a choice. And I'm with you. I've been with you on that pain, and it's reluctant that we do that. And it does make it duller. I do argue that, but yeah, hopefully. I think there's a run of games that Haaland has got. We go back to the captaincy matrix from 12, where from 12 to 17, I think feasibly he's only a good captain in one fixture. Spurs at home, Liverpool away, Forest at home, Palace away, United at home, Villa away. I'd argue in those 6 game weeks, there are other captains you would go with. So I'm hoping that if I get him in, I wouldn't sell him perhaps, but there'll be a bit of more fun with the captaincy than there will be for the next 5 or 6 weeks. I hope, anyway.
That hat-trick against Spurs is going to hurt.
Avi, thank you very much for your super chat. Konsa and Vardy or Face or Wood? Face and Wood, I think.
Face, that sounds like one of those pills. Because say you're taking that seems a bit harsh.
I've seen that movie, Face and Wood. No, let's just stop it. Let's just stop it. Yeah, I would do that. I would say so.
Same. I don't think Vardy. I love Vardy, but I don't think he's a great pick.
Shivam, planning to wildcard 8. Eze and Dunk to Semenyo and Timber. California for a hit. Can't do Saliba. Need to cover against wildcarders. Thoughts? No. No, I don't think so. I'd keep Eze in. I'd definitely keep Eze for this week. It's for a hit as well. No, I mean you could do Eze to Semenyo if you really want to keep up with wildcarders, but I don't think keeping Eze and banking on him outscoring Semenyo is a bad idea. No. And Timber, Calafiori, I don't know how nailed they are. I really don't. I don't think
if Timber's got a knock or he's out, I still wouldn't do it because I wouldn't. I don't think you should be losing Eze for a hit when he's got Everton next.
No, but you can lose Eze for free for Semenyo if you really want to go with wildcarders. But I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it for.
I'd keep him. I love Semenyo, but I think I'd still keep Eze.
Yeah. Attaboy, thank you very much for being a member, and thank you very much for your super chat here. How do you rate the chance of Jota playing? I think he starts, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he got the goals. I think he starts.
I think he starts. Slot was talking him up a bit after the game as well. I know he did that last week and dropped him for Darwin, but Darwin's played 2 on 2 on the spin now as well, and Jota got 2 goals. So I think it'll be Jota, Diaz, and Salah.
And Zovamir Boban, a long-time supporter of the podcast. Thank you very much for your super chat. Best show on TV as always. I've had a great start without no Haaland, but starting to worry I push my luck. Is there any sane way around it? I think you've got 1 more week, Zovamir. I think you can do without it for 1 more week, but when the Captaincy kicks in from 7, I think you'll hurt. You'll start. The pain will come. So well done for getting through this far without him. You've done better than me. But I think you've got 1 more week, don't you think, Az?
Don't push your luck. If you've had a good week without him, maybe like you say, roll the dice 1 more week, but cash out. A good gambler knows when to cash out, and it is unfortunately the time.
It really is. 9 minutes to midnight. We've done 2 hours and 38 minutes.
Jesus Christ,
is officially one of our longest streams ever. Thank you
good
very
discussions
much.
Though.
Yeah, and thank you very much to the 2,000 people who tuned in, which was fantastic to see. We'll see. I haven't committed to my wildcard yet. Well, I have to the wildcard, but I haven't committed what the team is. You seem set though, right? You seem fairly
3
settled.
positions. Yeah, 3 positions in and around, I think. Depends on Ray and News. We're not going to get any. I really don't want Flecken. I don't. I really want Raya just as a set and forget.
We'll see what Arteta gives us tomorrow, don't we? Hopefully he can give. I say tomorrow, it's almost today. Hopefully he gives us a lead on that, but I don't expect it. But all right, 1 more wood joke before we go. No, let's not do that, shall we? It's a good night for me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Good night for me.
I think because I'm so tired, I'll make one to be so inappropriate we just get cancelled. So I'm not even gonna go there. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching.